Someone's at the door.
That's Crimson, you old poop.
It is me. Welcome, everyone, to this new episode of the podcast where we're covering On Golden Pond, the 1981 version. With me today, we have.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Rider.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks. Well, I was going to do a whole voice, though. Nah, no one would like that. Hey, if you're listening from Golden Pond, because it's a place, actually, you can find us over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky. We have a LetterBox account, average outcasts, numbers, whatever the doohickey and what's McCallits are over there. We have visual side of things on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, but you can convert to Spotify just to audio if you want, where there's also tons of audio platforms out there. If you don't know what any of that means, ask your daughter's son-in-law or something like that. He might be able to help you. Anyway, let's roll right into the intro. And we're back from that intro.
Woof. All right. So, as mentioned, On Golden Pond, 1981. A film I picked this time.
Shocker.
Guess. I know. I pick all the popular things. But due to all the research I did, apparently this was quite popular.
This
which we'll
was
get
quite
into.
popular, yes.
Yeah, in the history parts. The fact section, sorry. History's going first, though. We will start with Sprinks.
Sweet. Have I heard about this movie? No, not really. Not until the pod pick for it from Crimson. What do I know about this movie? Nothing at all, really. The only connection I have to this movie is that Jim Carrey did a stand-up routine once where he portrayed and impersonated Norman. That's it.
Interesting. All right. And writer?
Nothing. Never heard of the movie. I knew there were. Okay, I've heard of the movie. I will say. I didn't know there were multiple versions of the movie, and
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, there's as I asked Crimson at the start of the week before we had to watch
kept
the movie.
Specifying 1981 version.
Yeah. There's a 90s version and an early 2000s version. So I had to ask Crimson to clarify which is when he posted in chat the correct one we're supposed to watch.
It's like The Secret Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was news to me as well. I did not know there was multiple versions of this.
So it is my first time for the podcast, but that is my long short history. I mean, short long history.
Right. Well, for me, it's not a very long one either. This is the first time I've seen it for the podcast. I've only seen maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes of this film before the podcast. My mom was watching it and I was making dinner and I saw the end of the movie. So I've just had that in the back of my mind and figured, you know what? This feels like a different kind of movie. I'll pick that for the podcast. So there it is. First time for its entirety for the podcast, and that is it.
Bunch of first timers, but not old timers.
Not old timers. Old timers to the podcast.
We're getting there 1 year at a time, folks.
Yep.
Yeah, just wait till this podcast hits 80. Woo!
That'd be awesome. We'll start recording them in the crack.
That'd be a record right there. All right, and then we'll jump into the facts, assuming no magic history has popped out of nowhere.
Magic, no.
None for me.
Alrighty. Then I will do as I tend to do and start with the budget. It had a budget of $7.5 million, which I ran through an inflation calculator, and is roughly $29 million today. And then the box office of 119.3 million, which today would roughly be 460 million.
All right, did well.
Yeah, did
Smashing
well.
success.
Earned its money
It
back.
was the second highest grossing film of 1981, first being Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Interesting.
Yeah.
was number
Stiff
2.
competition.
Yeah.
And I think it lost like movie of the year, the Oscars, to Chariots of Fire. So I haven't seen that one, but I've heard of it.
Gotcha. Do you know what number 3 was on the box office toppings of 81?
I do not. I'm going to assume possibly Chariots of Fire, but I do not know the answer to that.
Like, okay, I'm like Raiders beat this, but what did this beat? I was curious.
At least it beat Chariots. I know that.
I suppose so. Yeah.
All right, I've got a fair amount of facts in this. There were a lot, so tried to whittle it down to a few. First one being the brown fedora worn by Henry Fonda belonged to Spencer Tracy and was given to Fonda by Katharine Hepburn on the first day of the set. Henry Fonda was our main character, and Katharine Hepburn was the heck was her name?
Norman and Ethel.
And yes, Ethel. Her name was rarely said. Ethel. For on the first day of set, overwhelmed with the gesture, Fonda painted a still life watercolor of the 3 hats he wore in the film and gave the original to Hepburn as a gift. He had 200 lithographs made of the painting and sent to every person who had worked on the film. Each copy was numbered and personally signed by Fonda, thanking each person by name. In her autobiography, Hepburn wrote that she gave the painting to screenwriter Ernest Thompson after Fonda's death. She found the painting to be too sad.
Aw.
Wow.
Yeah, a pretty
That's
good
touching.
gesture on his part. It's pretty cool. And Henry Fonda died a year after this release. It was 1982. This was the last film he did.
Yes,
Oh.
that is the only factoid I knew going into the movie, is that this was his last movie.
Yeah. Which, if you guys don't recall, 12 Angry Men was what he was in.
That we
I
covered.
remember.
Yeah.
And then Katharine Hepburn was in African Queen.
That's we've covered that too. Yeah.
So that was kind
finally
of
closing a chapter, are we?
connection.
Hey, audience, if you haven't listened to those, go take a look.
Go check it out. Shot early on location. Yeah, early. Shot entirely on location in New Hampshire in the summer of 1980, with all the interiors filmed at a cottage in Squam Lake. All exteriors were shot on and around Squam, except for the aerial shot of Billy driving the boat in circles, which was shot nearby on Lake Winnipesaukee. I probably butchered the heck out of that.
Winnipesaukee, that sounds right.
Okay.
Originally intended. What was that?
It means you can go and visit the set and location.
Oh, yeah. I didn't write down the fact, but the house was originally rented from a doctor guy, and they did massive renovations to it for the film.
Doctor guy, a dentist?
No, it was not a dentist. Funny enough. Originally intended as a vehicle for all 3 acting members of the Fonda family, Peter Fonda, Jane Fonda, and Henry Fonda. However, no part could be found for Peter, being Jane's brother. He couldn't be her romantic partner because of the incestuous connotation. Actor Dabney Coleman was cast as Billy Ray.
Okay, make the brother Charlie, the mailman.
I guess they didn't do that. Well, I mean, Charlie also had a crush on her too, so that would still be a kind of a weird.
I suppose, but it's not
scenario.
Billy.
No, but both being love interests, I think would still carry the same connotation. Henry Fonda and Jane Fonda were the first parent and child to receive Academy Award acting nominations for the same film. This was for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actress, respectively. The only other time that this has happened was with Diane Ladd and Laura Dern, were both later Oscar nominated for Rambling Rose in 1991.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Jane Fonda did all of her own makeup, much to the dismay of the makeup people and the camera crew. They told her it looked too dark on the camera, but Fonda refused to budge. She wanted that suntanned look, reasoning that everyone who comes from Los Angeles had a suntan.
That's a little bit funny, if a bit forced.
Mm.
I mean, the makeup didn't really seem bad to me.
It wasn't awful.
I'm not a makeup artist.
I do think it was a little overdone. It would have been my critique of it. But in the story, I would just read that as a sheep baked in the sun for a little bit too long.
I think it's quite apparent in the backflip scene, which is very shiny.
And the final fact I'll be going with is until 2023, Henry Fonda held the record for the longest gap between Acting Academy Award nominations. Fonda's first Oscar nomination was for The Grapes of Wrath in 1940, while his second was for this film 41 years later. He received one other Oscar nomination in the period between his two acting nominations, which was for Best Picture Producer in 12 Angry Men in 1957. Fonda won his only Best Actor in 1982 for his final theatrical film performance in this film. Okay. Fonda, the previous year in 1981, had won an honorary Oscar for the consummate actor in recognition of his brilliant accomplishments and enduring contribution to the art of motion pictures. Since 2023, that record has been broken by Jude Hirsch, I don't know, who was nominated in 1981 for a supporting role in Ordinary People, and then again in 2023 for a supporting role in The Fablesman. In 2022, a 40... Fablemans?
The Fablemans, yeah.
Yeah. With a 42-year gap.
Fascinating.
So Henry Fonda's number 2, then, of the gap.
He is now. So someone else.
So this movie has 2 silver awards.
I suppose so. Yeah. At least that I could find. Who knows? Maybe there's more. Right, and that does it for the facts. Like I said, there was many more, but that is what I picked. Anything you guys got before we move on? Probably not.
I could do a classic U fact, but that's your shtick. So I'm good.
All right. Ryder, nothing? I took the one you knew.
That was one of them, but I got another one. Not only is this not an American football movie, this is not even a sports movie.
Okay, that gimmick is going to die out.
Had to be done.
It dies here on Golden Pond.
I'm putting it down. Actually, I do have a piece that I'd like to bring up that isn't related to the movie, but to the podcast, if I could, rather than waiting all the way till the recap.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, audience, you haven't noticed. You don't know behind the scenes, but I just want to point something out that Crimson has done that is just a huge effort on his part to make perfection for all of you. The draft video we did, the football draft that came out weeks ago, Crimson had it uploaded, and we saw one little minor thing to it that was like, we'll let that pass, it's fine. No, Crimson took the whole thing down, fixed it, and re-put it all the way back up. Just for you, so it could be as best as it possibly could be. And I want that credit to be on him, and not for it to be overlooked or overshadowed. So, just a big kudos to Crimson.
No, I'm blushing. We want the best we could do. So
don't worry, Crimson. I'll bring it up during the recap.
That's fine. It's been brought up. We don't need it anymore.
No, cool. Underline me.
You sure about that? You sure? You sure it doesn't need to be brought up again?
That's fine. All right.
People have seen it now. How much freaking work he did in that.
And successful and not a waste of dozens of hours.
No.
All right. On Golden Pond, we are doing popcorn structure for this one, so we can jump around whenever, wherever. Odds are we'll probably still go generally linear. That's how it tends to go around here. And we will start off with writer.
All right. I will. I'll jump into something. I guess more of a broad topic. I think there's a lot of quality character-driven dialogue in this film, and a lot of my praise in the film is going to be centered around that. And I think that the introduction to Ethel and Norman, uh, from them like driving up and walking inside, and Norman like trying to get the operator to work on the phone and stuff like that. The opening scene very much, I think, grounds us into who these two characters are pretty quickly, and then we just kind of expand a little bit on what these two characters are like. Ethel being a much more of a upbeat, upgoing person, while Norman is obviously a bit cynical. He jokes about dying a lot, and there's you spend maybe the first 10-15 minutes of this movie wondering why these two ended up together, because they do seem polar opposites. But as the film goes on, I think they do a lot of good character dialogue stuff to where you can start to see why Ethel loves him so much, and vice versa.
Well, she's the
Opposites
only one that
attract.
gets to see him as the good guy, as she said.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Uh,
Redder, you've never met them, but Crimson, you have. These two, Norman and Ethel, remind me of my great uncle and my great aunt.
yes, your uncle is more toned down than Norman, but I definitely see the
He's not as
excitable
cynical.
spouse and the like toned down
Yeah, the
more.
dry humor.
Yeah,
Like, doesn't that sound great? No, kind of stuff.
no, yeah. Uh, Proving that the dynamic definitely works in real life.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, writer, that I think they did a good job building. I mean, that's the whole movie is just character relations. There's not too much of a plot to this. It's just grandparents watching a grandkid
It is a slice of life movie.
It really
through
is.
and through.
I do think that it is to the film's benefit, because I do think like there are some things like that plot armor that will come up later on through our discussion, and there are some things where they definitely might have over dramatized a few things, but I would say by and large it is a very, very well done slice of life movie.
I guess on that topic, I'll bring up an overarching thing for me, and being a slice of life film, mostly a drama. It's listed as a drama romance. I don't see too much romance in it, but I mean, sure, drama romance. I just I think this is a peek into the past. I can't really imagine a movie now of like a slice of life like this being like number two of the whole year,
No,
like
no.
box
If
office.
this
It
movie
just
was
does
made
not happen.
today, it would bomb.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I
it's a
think the
relic of the
big name
past.
actors did bring in an audience for the time. So maybe with today, like a modern age, because this movie's been redone, as we've heard. Um, but I just don't see it being like the 1-to-1 of a modern age look for this. I don't think it would work.
Yeah, the closest that I can think of that did get some, at least some critical acclaim, is The Father with Anthony Hopkins. It's not quite like this. It's not the same style. It's focusing on a very, very hyper specific element of uh, growing older and stuff like that. But reminds me of that in a little bit, in some vein, I think.
And of course, still set to the time period. Not modern. If you do modern day with like this story, the big complaint is like, oh, just use a cell phone.
Yeah, that's what
That
I
would
was gonna
take
say.
away so many
Cell phones would ruin
things.
it.
Yeah. So
Yes,
it's like
I
it's got to
agree.
stick to its time period. But made today, I just don't think the audience would come in for it.
Yeah, I agree. It'd probably just be some movie that would be tossed onto a streaming service as just like padding a catalog.
Maybe.
It's just
But
interesting.
some of those still do quite well.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say on streaming because they don't release the official numbers, and it's different than just a box office where you got to pay to watch a movie.
I suppose. I kind of see. I think something's doing quite well on a streaming service if there are interviews for the movie.
I guess that's
I mean, the producers can
mostly true.
set up and pay for an
They
interview.
can
They
like
don't
change
have
the
to be reached
marketing.
out to be
No, no,
interviewed.
no.
Yeah.
I just see that as like a bigger movie thing. Maybe that's just marketing onto me, like, oh, they did something for it. But I just see that as their push to make it bigger or spread rather than just flat out release coming new this month kind of look.
Yeah, I kind of push that just in the marketing department. Which is good. I mean, it's their job to get a film out there to be heard of, um, to build excitement to go see. But the most powerful advertising is word of mouth. So you can do as many interviews as you want. If no one cares, it's not going to do anything.
True.
I look at Supergirl; they did a
Well,
lot of interviews, and that
yeah, I'm
didn't
like,
perform
it
very well.
could lead the opposite way where it then becomes hate watching.
Like the most recent Snow White, the interviews
Oh,
really
that was
damaged the
definitely,
film.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, two,
So,
two good examples, yeah.
hmm. I guess, Springs, your turn. 4 points.
Cool. You both kind of did overarching. I'll do an overarching question. And Crimson, I don't think you probably have this in your notes, but what do they say more in this movie? Do they say the word poop or do they say son of a bitch? Which one
I
is
thought you were
said
gonna say
more in the
or
film?
bring up Loon. Lots of
Eh,
Loon
I
in the
think
film.
Loons.
I think I think loon and bullshit is below those two.
I remember more loons than son of a bitch, personally, but I would say poop is the one that I heard the most of, that I remember at least.
I don't think it's poop. Mm, what was the 2? Poop and what was the other one?
Son of a
Bullshit.
bitch.
Oh,
I
no,
thought it
son of a
was
bitch, sorry.
poop, son of a bitch, loon, bullshit. I think bullshit's probably in last place, but I feel
I
like
feel
loon
like
would be
I
third.
heard that more than son of a biscuit. Um,
Really, really taming himself. PG rated podcast.
PG Crimson over here. For the most part, with some exceptions. Um, I guess out of the 2 you provided, I guess it would be son of a biscuit, though I don't think it's that.
I don't think it's that either. They don't say biscuit in the movie.
It's not poop.
I don't know, I just remember
Poop.
poop more. That might just be me,
Yeah,
though.
poop was said a lot. I don't. Uh, See, it's
You're
like
being such
poop.
a
I
poop.
think was poop was said like throughout the movie, like a lot. Son of a bitch was said like 4 times in like one short scene of like one fishing or something. Like it was said more than just those fishing scenes, but like just like 4 times back to back to back there. So I don't know.
All right, so poop and poop is what you guys are going with?
No, no, no. That was
Which
not
one are you
poop
going
and
with?
poop. That just makes poop win. Um,
Well, I didn't pick poop.
I think I'm leaning son of a bitch. Just maybe said a couple times more.
All right. Let us know, audience, what you think was said more.
They're
Boom.
like, I think the word the was said the most. It's like, okay, yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I
us.
guess that's true. Good job. But now you've been called out. You got to pick something else. Writer.
Alrighty. I will say I couldn't tell if I look at it now retrospectively. I think Norman struggling with the operator is kind of a setup for the end of the movie. Like being the first thing in the house and being one of the last things in the house, they're both trying to deal with getting to the hold of the operator. I couldn't tell at first whether Norman was being forgetful. I realized he obviously is. He's just getting older. Um, when he's trying to get a hold of the operators, like I was like, "Why did you call me?" Oh, I couldn't tell if he was messing with him or not. But I think I'm genuinely think that he had forgotten that he had called the operator.
That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, for that instance, I think that one is forget. Because there are definitely
And
times in this where he
also,
is joking about forgetting stuff.
yeah, also that's a short, small amount of the set on forgetfulness to be introduced to the character.
Yeah.
A similar scene to that writer for me was the first time they played. What was the game they were playing? I originally wrote it as Sorry, but Parcheesi. Um, when they were playing that, I was like, why do we have this scene? Because it was just like less than a minute of them doing that, playing a board game. Like, okay. And then later, it's more of a family connection and brings up his competitiveness with the games and stuff. So it did warranted existence. But if that was the only scene of it, I would have been like, why is this here?
Yeah.
It's also aidful for pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Because Ethel knows. It isn't like shocking, like it just like happens that, Norman's losing his memory because when Chelsea comes to visit, when Norman goes upstairs, it's like one of the first things she asks Ethel is like, how's his memory doing? So like it's definitely had past history of a connection. Whether how much Ethel wants to admit to it is one thing, but at least she's knowledgeable of it from the beginning of the movie, from that line. So I think the Parcheesi is just, yes, something to do as a couple, whatever, but to keep playing it, to keep helping the memory of it, to keep them grounded is helpful of the scene.
Yeah, and also it's
Yeah.
just a good. And again, this is going to come up a lot from these my notes. Is that it's just another one of those things that really adds another like foundational layer onto their relationship um because as you say, Sprinks, there's a lot of pattern recognition, a lot of things that come back that you would might not necessarily read as important on your first watch through. Um, that are kind of paid off later on, either in dialogue or just the actions of characters, and just as to why this is something that they do. Um, and again, it just adds more onto their relationship as well.
Yes. It's better than playing chess on a beach in Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yes, it would be fun if they if chess was a game they played regularly and then they played chess like on the beach in Breaking Point One. I'd buy it more.
I wonder if we're the first people to ever draw a parallel between this film and
Yes.
Twilight.
We
Yes.
absolutely
I'm
are.
sure we are.
My goodness.
You stick with the Cheap Suit Critics podcast, everybody, and we'll bring you a lot of random firsts like that.
Yeah. But don't come attacking us that it's like Edward and Bella were the kings and queens and they were the makeshift pawns of the whole fight. We get it. We've covered it. We understand. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna do one more time for
Comparison
the
to the
memes,
parallels.
but do you remember Cap and Sky Captain? That was really
Nope. Nope. Not his name.
Well, I mean, his name is Sky Captain.
Sky Captain Joe. That's his name.
Yeah, but he's called Cap in the
Moving
film,
on.
Springs.
Moving on. Moving on.
So, all right. Well, touching on a little bit there of the relationship with him and Chelsea. Uh, I don't know if it's something I missed or not, but was there ever an established gap between the last time they met? They just talk about how she rarely visits.
I would guess so.
I don't think
That's
there's a.
something I question throughout this movie. Of is it better or worse that we don't know fully Chelsea's upbringing?
I think it could work potentially if they wanted to make it work. It's not. I don't think it's required though for the film itself to function. So where
No, but I do think it changes the audience's perspective of who Norman is.
yes, I. So to answer your first question, Crimson, I don't think there's an established timeline. And as to whether it's better or worse, I can see benefits to both, and I can see drawbacks to both. So
It really
Okay.
depends on the angle, because if it's like, oh, he kind of just ignored her because he wanted a son and she felt neglected, there's that. But if he like hit her or something, that's a completely different thing. um, so it really depends on which route they would make their like animosity, and we don't
Yeah,
really
I
know
didn't.
the level.
No, I
Um,
didn't write down the quote, but what was it? Ethel said he was an overbearing father, and she was a mother who ignored her. Was how she put it.
yeah, something like that.
I just the overbearing part doesn't seem like neglect. It's just constant, like something not from that word use that Ethel said, but from her experience of what Chelsea's upbringing was. But I just found it as this whole aspect of Chelsea trying to rekindle a relationship or a friendship with her dad. Because I even questioned if they're related, if this was like a stepfather thing, because she's calling him Norman and not dad. But I do think that is a strength to start with, because it had me questioning. Um, but I
It
just
just
feel
means
like
that their
the
relationship is that estranged, you know.
yeah, yeah, which is good. Gets the point across. But I do think from how they portray it and explain through how Chelsea has this trauma on her, and Norman, his forgetfulness doesn't count as an excuse, but we don't see how he feels about younger Chelsea or when she was being raised. We don't really get his side of the story. I do feel like all the weight of the situation is on Chelsea then. It's on Chelsea not to bring this up, to have the discussion, to open up about it. When Norman is there, like even when she gets the courage to go finally do it after seeing, Billy Jr. get off the boat with Norman, Norman's still like, "What do you want to talk about? I'm here. I thought this." Like he was ready, and I feel like he would have been ready the whole time. Whenever she brought it up, she could have visited for the birthday, celebrate the birthday, the next day, express it all.
I do agree with that. I do think he was ready and willing. The cabal was kind of in her court because, um, like was said, she had a chip on her shoulder. It didn't feel like to me that Norman did. Um, we didn't get a lot of his views of the past, like you mentioned. The
The,
only animosity that to me felt like tangible was his anger towards her for not visiting or staying in contact.
the
Because
other aspect.
But
at
Sorry.
that
the
to
end
me
of the
leans
doc,
on confusion.
the
He doesn't know
rekindling
the
bit,
reason why.
possibly, like you said, it's not super deep with Norman's side of the relationship. Because even on the resolution part, some parts can be seen as more like sarcasm than sincerity.
Yes.
Like,
I think
I thought we
anything to
just
do with
hated each other. Like,
yeah, I think to
that
do
could
with
be
her
read as
back.
serious or sarcastic. Um, that's just another one of Norman's jokes to just throw out there.
There's
Yeah.
also a level of Norman's judgment that I think we're kind of might be ignoring for this particular discussion as to why Chelsea might have like removed him out of her life for to a degree, because he's very nonchalant about her relationships. Sometimes, like so, I do think he's forgetful of Billy at certain points of like at the end of the film. I do when he confuses the Billies. I think that's works, but there's earlier parts in the film where he comes across as very judgmental towards her relationships and stuff like that. So I think that might be an avenue as to, I guess, stuff that might be on more Norman's court, where as to why Chelsea moved away. But I do still agree with the both of you that I think of the two of them, Norman was more ready for that conversation at the start of this movie than Chelsea was.
I'm trying to see in Norman's shoes his daughter being so distant from him and Ethel, his wife, to just hear about progression in Chelsea's life without Chelsea telling them more so, or like direct her upbringing, or like from visitations, like, oh, I'm seeing a guy. Oh, it's a little more than seeing the guy. And oh, he proposed. And like, no, it's just like, oh, I'm with a guy and he has a kid and we want you to look over the kid. And then we're married. It just seems like progression. And that happens, that, life is life, and, the ups and downs, things occur that way. But I think in Norman's situation of not seeing his daughter too often, it does have a little judgmental factor that she's just doing these things without telling him these things or having conversations, which is like giving him the cold shoulder. Now, I'm not saying he's stupid and he doesn't understand why he's being treated this way by her, but I just think he is patiently there, knowing that when she's ready, she'll come. because when she's even there, he's not like all over her, or like trying to find his edge in
That's true.
to
He's not
have a
trying to,
talk or anything.
yeah. I mean, he
Yeah,
definitely
he's
jerks
being
Billy
very
around, but it's
yes, but
definitely
he's being respect isn't the right word because with his humor, it's not exactly that, but he is being courteous with her, I think. And one could say first line upon seeing her when she visits is calling her fat. You could go with the memory thing on that, but I do think that's his way of humor saying you're not that anymore, and like his way of saying you look good. But she took it immediately as like, oh, that's dad insulting me again, being overbearing, which I think is
yeah.
a
That kind
great
of
starting line of the two
yeah.
characters.
I agree. It also kind of reminded me of the how that line is used in Everywhere All at Once, because that also
Oh,
is used in that film with the mother.
yeah.
Uh, so it reminded me a bit of that in the sense that like yeah, it could be just a term of affection where that is just misinterpreted because Norman has a very particular sense of humor and it's very dry and very blunt. In the same way that like uh I know you probably haven't seen this, Crimson, but you know how Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon, how they first greet each other, they call each other fat and they both share a
Yeah.
laugh over it. It kind of comes across to me as like that's more like old men humor in the sense of like yeah, you give your best friend shit no matter how old you are.
Well,
And
Crimson would know it from Grumpy Old Men.
yeah,
Yep.
um and so that kind of reminds me of what that humor could be and all and genuinely Chelsea just might not be receptive to it, which is could add more to why they are so distant from each other.
Or a great example that we all know, Statler and Waldorf. They're greatest friends.
Even in death.
Even in death, they're still great friends.
Yeah.
Who?
The old men from the Muppets.
Thank you. Okay.
Statler and
As we
Waldorf.
all know.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the Muppets. I just don't know all the character names. So thanks. That does clear it up. I know exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
now. Yes.
I'll take us to Billy Senior, I guess. Bill. Um, I really liked his character in this. I really wish he came back at the end. He doesn't
You guys
really
want to
have a
see?
place because it's more with the tight knit family dynamic.
Mhm.
I liked every scene he was in. He was great.
Billy
Just
is
another guy trying to fit in and make a good first impression with his partner's father, and the father just being so abrasive. Uh,
The sex joke was actually quite humorous.
yeah,
yes. I would say Billy Senior, really great character because he's super well characterized in every scene he's in. He's super skittish and he doesn't really like you don't see him jump into the water or in this case fall into the water until like he feels, the testosterone competitive spirit because he lets himself do that, he just lets it happen, which is I think is pretty funny and it's also, just gives more insight to his character that one of the reasons he might like Chelsea so much is because she's kind of pushing him to do new things and which I think is really nice. Um and also to kind of go back to what you were saying, Crimson, the scene between the two of them is probably my pick for favorite scene in the one of my picks for favorite scene in the movie. It's in probably my top 3 where he's trying to be polite and obviously he's getting shut down and bounced around, jerked around as he phrases it. But I like that Billy pushes back respectfully too. Like he's not going to just sit there and take it, and that's something I really appreciated. So he doesn't. I wouldn't say he put Norman in his place, but they at least have an understanding at the end of the conversation.
well, I just like how Norman reacted to it too. He's like, "Well, you seem like a nice guy." Like because Bill didn't like break, he sat down. Like, all right, face to face, I know what you're doing. I think Norman saw that as like a great deal of respect. Really, a gentleman.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I agree.
Chelsea's previous partner was like, but
I
it
doubt
was
it's
pretty
like
good.
this. Yeah.
Probably not.
I just like his little game that Norman does. And it's like, can we sleep together? You and your son? No. Your son and my daughter? No. Oh,
All three of
I
you?
guess that just all three. I guess that just leaves the two of you.
I mean,
Yes,
I guess that's
definitely.
fine if you're okay with like violating my daughter. Do you want to
I
use my
do think
room?
I do think it would be funny, like the question just being like, can we sleep together without Billy knowing the context of Chelsea's in the question, but without specifically saying Chelsea, that Norman thinks he's asking if Norman and Bill are just sleep together.
I feel like Norman knows, but he's just kind of messing with
Oh,
him.
Norman knows. Yeah, no, he's toying with him. He's seen what getting reactions.
Yeah, it's pretty darn funny.
It's a good scene. It's a really good scene.
Crimson, I have a question. Since you
All right.
touched on uh, Jane Fonda's makeup earlier, does Henry Fonda have any like aging makeup, or is that how he just looks
The very first time I saw him like look at his reflection
from the
after
newspaper
looking at his
clipping?
papers, I'm like,
Yeah.
something. He seems artificially old. Now, unfortunately, I could not find anything regarding if they aged him up or not. Um,
Okay. Because that
but
definitely
he
that
was
paper
like
to the
high
mirror really
70s when this came
okay.
out.
I couldn't tell if they
Um,
did something where they just like undershadowed the wrinkles to make them pop more, or I don't know, something like that. I think the glasses help age him a little.
Frazzled hair. Um, he's not well kept.
No.
But I mean, all I can really say is there was a makeup department, so he's got makeup on. Whether or not it was to age him up, I don't have an answer to. If they did do that, looks pretty decent. If not, that's believable. I mean, he was like 77 or something like that when this is coming out
Yeah.
or being made. Writer.
Sure, I will jump to the berry picking scene. Uh, another one of those. It's kind of one of those like show don't tell moments. The music kind of slowly starts to swell, like to provide tension. But I feel like the tension was there even before he left because we've seen all these little things where he's not all there anymore because he's just an old man, and then Ethel sends him off into the forest to pick berries, and I quite like, I guess, him freaking out and just going back to the house because he got lost. And I also like that he kept that bottled up, and it kind of adds more to the him being rude throughout the rest of the scene with it's Charlie, right? Yeah,
Charles the mailman. Yeah.
yeah. So it adds more to the scene with him being rude to Charlie and Ethel until like Charlie leaves and he's finally alone, and Ethel, he just kind of snaps and confesses to Ethel. I think that entire string of events from him like going out berry picking to him like breaking down in front of Ethel is really really powerful string of events, and I do think it's adds a lot to his character in the sense that like he tries to keep those fears private to a degree but is willing to share with Ethel because Ethel obviously is still poking fun at him and kind of gently chiding him, not realizing that he's kind of still distraught.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good, powerful scene. Um, I think they did a good job balancing his memory through this because starting and seeing it, I'm like, okay, is this like an Alzheimer's film? Which I don't think it is. I think it's just an old guy just
I
getting
agree.
old.
No,
Yeah,
I
he's
I questioned being that you pitched this Crimson. I'm like, oh no, is this a Still Alice movie again?
That
And it's
was the
not.
vibes I was getting in the beginning. Yeah, it
that
is.
that is kind of where I was at the beginning as well. I'm very pleased we didn't go that route. But I again, he's just a struggling old man, and I think that's having that scene where he freaks out again when he's sitting on the trunk and trying to collect himself is just gives you like um it shows the panic of like growing up in a very specific way, because you don't really get confronted with that terror a lot, but I think it's that scene that kind of helps build into all his like jokes about death and how he's not necessarily, I think he even says he's not looking forward to it, but he's like accepting of it. And you gotta get these scenes that kind of build up into that kind of mentality that really add other facets to his character, so you know why he feels that way, because stuff like this might have been happening before this, but obviously this is the first we're seeing as an audience. You know, first big
Yeah.
kind of scene like this.
Yeah, and I guess on the scene of the woods of him getting lost, I don't know if it's me reading into it or not, but the like tree he focuses on has cut limbs, so it's quite possible a tree he is familiar with. Possibly it was used for
Firewood.
firewood or
Yeah.
something akin to that, building a boat. I don't know, but it's been cut. The limbs have been cut, so it's a tree he likely is familiar with. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's not like by the road. Um,
But
so I
no
kind of saw
longer
that scene as him
recognizes it.
trying to gain his surroundings, figure out where he is, and then
Mm.
looking at the tree, and then the concern of like, I know the tree, but I don't know why, or something like that. I think is a pretty nice little blink you miss a detail.
I agree.
I think so. Yeah, because it
Springs. Oh,
fixates
sorry,
on the
keep going.
tree. Yeah. No, I'm just saying it fixates on the tree. So I think
Mhm.
I'm in agreement. Otherwise, that doesn't the character motivation for like the scene doesn't quite make sense too much then without it. So um, I'll go to it being called on Golden Pond. I think it works being that Golden Pond is a place and not an actual occurrence or like a nickname they gave the lake or anything. Um, but I do think they kind of shot themselves in a foot a little by the opening credits showing what
Why it's
symbolizes like
called.
the golden pond, and it's like a sunrise sunset reflecting on the lake to give it that gold look. I wish that was more than just like a visual introduction thing and actually have like a significance to some point of the movie.
Yeah. I think if I wanted to include more than the movie, it could be something they watch from the balcony of their house at night, or like they watch the sun go down. That's what they do. They watch the golden pond, or
Yeah,
it
or
could also.
something like one day a year the sun's in the right spot that it turns the pond gold, and like maybe that's a thing that Chelsea and Norman did, but Chelsea didn't like it by how forced and how like tradition it had to be for Norman or something like that. And it just has never felt the same. And then when they rekindle, it's on that day or something connected like that. So the Golden Pond is like connected through the characters or something. But it just seemed like a cheeky little intro bit, kind of soap opera ish.
There's also a bookend. Why they ended with the reverse shot of that?
Well, it's slight bookend. It wasn't exactly how it started.
No, there was no loons getting focused on and all that. I mean, I think as is definitely fine. I do feel it's very akin to a lot of films of this time period, mostly 70s, but because a lot of, I mean, all the films had like opening credits, and usually they use
Oh, that's fine.
scenic shots as just easy background footage. Sometimes films get more creative than that, but generally it's usually scenery shots, and I think showing the golden pond during the golden hour is appropriate. Sure, they could have done more with it, like what you guys have talked about, but I don't think it's wrong in any fashion to open with it.
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
not.
I don't see that as being a problem at all. I'm not stating that. No damage letter to that. I'm just saying the name sake of the film of On Golden Pond only being used for a background image to a title sequence seems underutilized.
I'm neutral on it. Generally speaking, I don't have any issues with it, but I can see how they could have incorporated more if they wanted. Whether I wouldn't say it's needed, but yeah.
All right, take us away to another point.
Okay, day. Again, another thing just for the character dynamic. Once he's back from his berry picking, and specifically when they're all having like breakfast with Charlie, which is a nice little thing that Ethel always invites Charlie inside to eat or drink with them. Just kind of shows like how much of a regulars the two of them are. They come out here every year. Charlie has to deliver the mail, obviously to everyone by boat, so they obviously would know each other by name. And Ethel's just a very welcoming person. But as Ethel's like reading through the letter, um, Norman is just kind of flipping through the pages and like he's reacting to stuff in the paper, so he's like only half paying attention to her. But
Detroit's
because
gone.
Detroit's gone, I like it because he's clearly trying to forget what just happened to him out there, and he's just kind of like trying to immerse himself like in just like reading the newspaper and just only half listening to Ethel's excitement, because that's kind of feels like something that would be normal and grounding. It's like him trying to read while his wife is trying to talk to him, you know? So I feel like overall, and if I'm to read the subtext, I think this is helping him ground himself again, but also it's just another nice window into the character dynamic between the two of them.
I think that's a fair read for it. And trying
I
to
think so.
just distract himself. You do touch on something that I don't know if it was confirmed, and I had a question about of when the last time they came here was. Because you just dropped that it's a yearly visit, and I don't recall that being stated.
It's
Uh,
stated sometime earlier in the film that it's a yearly trip that they make.
okay,
I
then I guess
don't.
that's just
I
once
didn't
then.
write a timestamp for you down. Sorry.
Okay, I mean if that's it, then that's fine. It just kind of makes his like look in the mirror scene a little more of a movie moment of like, look how he was then, and look at where he is now. But if he was here just like a year ago, it would be a little less impactful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's already like he says he's struggling to remember who's in the picture, so I think that's
He
okay. But
Yes, his contemplation and fixation on death might be a little more so this year than the prior year,
hmm,
or over the
yeah,
course of the year.
that's
Um,
true. Could be, 'cause especially since he's on like
yeah,
already heart palpitation medicines that could have started last year for all we know,
yeah,
or in the past
and like
year.
the first kind of interaction of like the doll falling over, and, like jumping his death, and then being very morbid on that. Because I wrote down like it went from like the little piano opening, and then the guy, I didn't write down the guy's name, but the doll falling over, and Norman being like, "Oh, he jumped off into fall in the fire and die," and being morbid, to then go to like showing some loons and the piano again, and then cutting to talk about the talk of how 75 isn't middle age, because people aren't 150 years old, and then cutting back to another like nature transition of the piano. I'm like, this piano is telling me someone's going to die.
I do think the music was pretty well implemented through the film. It's definitely tied to the scenes. It's not just like a passive soundtrack or OST.
No, it's
Um,
impactful to the situation at hand, which
yeah,
older films did stronger, I would say. I'm not saying
yeah,
it's
I would agree in a
overall
general
one to
sense.
one. I'm just, yeah.
Did either of you recognize maybe the music, maybe the composer?
I don't think it was John Debney.
Because this was pretty much the only time I've ever really looked it up because I got vibes.
I
Oh,
didn't, but I also recognized like the style of it. I think to a degree. So
We have covered one film that this
oh
guy
well,
has
one film
been
is,
involved with. I
yeah.
mean, his biggest film, which we haven't covered, looking at it, is Goonies. He did the music of Goonies.
Oh, this doesn't sound like Goonies.
No, Dave Grusin, uh, if that's how you pronounce the last name. Um, the film he did do that we covered is Murder by Death. I was kind of surprised when I looked at his list. Like, wow, what a connection!
that's such a
Course,
different movie.
course,
Wow.
Crimson picked it.
Yeah.
What are the odds? Uh,
What are the
but
odds
yeah,
that all
he's
three
done
of what
over
you named are
70
movies you like?
films. Yeah, I know it. I mean, he's done like Selena and Tootsie and some other fairly bigger ones, but
Big named classics. Okay.
yeah. But Goonies is definitely his biggest one.
I don't think Murder by Death, On Golden Pond, or Goonies sound similar, which I guess is good. Kudos of range for a composer, but
I feel like there's some bits in Goonies that have piano bits, like um, the well scene.
I
There's
suppose
a
the
little
only thing
piano
pop into
bit.
my head hearing Goonies is the police chase at the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't sound like that at all.
No, it does not sound like that.
Yeah, but I suppose like that quiet, mystical whimsy to like the well scene or when they first see One-Eyed Willie's boat, I guess has
Yeah.
action. Or when the boat's sailing off at the end.
Hmm. Well, yeah, there you go. Let's see,
Interesting.
who did the previous? I think I was right. Sprinks.
Oh boy. Let's see here. We already talked about that. Talked about that. Um, already talked about that. Oh boy. Going through my notes. I wrote down Norman's dry old man humor is full on Crimson's likeness
Oh, that is
because I feel
correct.
like you really like those characters, those types of dry humor wit characters that aren't purposely trying to be funny,
No,
but
I
they're
do like old man dry humor. They're like I don't care mentalities. I love.
yeah. I guess my next note I have that we haven't touched on: is there an age one is to read Treasure Island? Because Norman seems very surprised that a 13-year-old has not read it.
Back then,
This
it feels like Treasure Island is meant to be read between the ages of like 8 and 12. I don't know why, but that's just kind of the vibe of the era. Um, so maybe, but that's just like basic, like
Early young
sometimes
boy
treasure.
adventure.
Yeah, like that's kind of where it comes down to me for me.
So in the range of like Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just like I wish we had somebody older on the podcast here because I feel like that is kind of like a relic of the past type deal. It's a popular book still, but it's not like every kid's read that book. It's not like Cat in the Hat or something.
No.
Uh, but it might have
Well,
been
back
Cat in the Hat
yeah.
before.
No,
Uh,
I think that's the thing. Decades of children change what is the starting book.
yeah, so
It's like the
Treasure
80s, I would
Island
say like
might be.
Outsiders or something.
So it might have been like, wow, every kid's read that in school, or every parents had their kid read it. But nowadays, it's not like a required or popular thing for every child to read. If
Yeah.
children even read anymore, to add to that.
No, they do on their Kindles.
Yeah, they read their chat GDP answers to their quizzes.
Actually, that's a good question. What do you think is like in English classes, the books they choose today? Do you think it's still the same from when we were in school or previous?
Um,
Like, are kids still reading How to Kill a Mockingbird?
That I think that's been banned actually.
Oh, that one's been
unfortunately,
banned. Oh, ugh.
yeah. I mean, I disagree with that, and uh, I'm an advocate everyone should read banned
All
books,
right,
but that's
Great
just me.
Gatsby. There you go.
I think as a classics for the era, I think Great Gatsby would be covered. Uh, in terms of new
Grapes of Wrath.
classic, I'm trying to think of modern classics that would be included. I can't really think of anything.
I'm like, is there like a
Yeah,
tame Stephen King?
I don't. I don't know. I don't recall any of my like English teachers talking about Stephen King, let alone giving us a book to read.
Well, Crimson, do you count our film as literature teacher, an English teacher?
No,
Okay.
'cause it's a film teacher.
I don't know if he was a film teacher. He's an English teacher.
He was an actor.
He was also an actor,
He really loved a
but he talked
particular
about
kind of
Stephen
candy
King.
bar.
No, careful.
That's why I said candy bar. uh, so yeah, I don't know. A lot of my books that I read, I don't see really having staying power. Like Wildwood funny enough, which is getting a
Uh-huh.
movie. I don't think that's going to be a staple in a school setting. Of I don't know if that was just that one teacher either. Did either of you get told to
I
read
didn't
that?
read the Bible. No.
Yeah. So I feel like it's generally up to the teacher at this point. It's less like set curriculum.
Yeah, which obviously hurts a lot of like at least the attempt at
Well,
standardization for language arts and stuff like that. But
I think other than the change of like plant-based foods, Fast Food Nation and like Food Inc. might still be a thing.
Yeah,
I know,
I mean that might teeter at some point of getting outdated though.
yeah, I mean, I know a couple of my politics classes wouldn't change some of their curriculums because the books that we were read were like very intentionally old. So I feel like the more classical the books tend to be for language arts, I think the less likely they are to change. Um, but there's obviously like books that you could nab or whatever for again, as you said, Crimson, it would just depend on the
1984.
teacher.
That's kind of like a popular one, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
that's still popular
or
today. I
not.
would say Aldous Huxley's as well. Brave New World as well. Those are the
So I guess to answer
two.
your question, Sprinks, I don't think we have much akin to Treasure Island now.
No.
Kind of just per
I
teacher.
can I can only guesstimate. I know Treasure Island was very important to one of my language arts teachers, and one of the high schools we all used to go to. Um, I remember them wanting to write. I remember that one of their life goals was to write a really good sequel, a spiritual sequel to the book. So
Alrighty. I will jump to those punk kids robbing an old man. Gosh, really
With the
didn't like
gas.
them. Yeah,
Huh?
at the gas because the total was 19 and they asked for 38, nearly double. Or wait,
Well,
was
they
it
knew Ethel's groceries.
double? Um, hmm?
They knew Ethel's groceries. She got inside, a combined price.
Ah, yes. So she double paid for her groceries.
quick,
Jerk
I
kids, and when uh Norman's like, yeah, oh gosh, I forgot what the words he said was, but it seemed
You
like
think it's good being old?
he was smart. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he's picking up what they're doing, but he didn't pick up what they were doing.
I may be old, but I'll still beat your ass, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah yeah. Fun fact: he also never handed over the money, so technically he robbed them.
No,
Just
technically you did.
yeah, but it's also a
You got the
small
gas
place
for
where they
free.
know each other, so the kids could just be like, "Hey, Norman didn't pay. You gotta
Yeah,
go to the cabin."
yeah. They didn't show up, so
Nah, you know what? They didn't show it. Which is something else kind of connected to the Treasure Island thing. Um, Norman gives Billy Jr. the book, and he goes, read the first chapter. I'll talk to you about it in the morning. And we never see that morning scene. What we do get is when they go fishing, and Billy complains to Norman, "What are you, Long John Silver?" Which answers that he read the book, at least partially.
yeah. Like we do see him reading the book in some scenes later on too, so we know he's reading it, which is nice.
Well, that
Yes,
was
but
a
we never
different
get
book.
that follow up.
That's true. Like why it's in such an important book to read or whatever. Maybe the best interpretation I have what we got in the film is that it helped open his adventurous spirit because obviously he's not really a huge outgoing person until he's finished reading it, and also because they didn't force him to come out, but they wanted him to come out with them that first time.
Tough question to pin down. How do you guys, yeah, how long do you guys think they were at the cabin this time?
Usually it's for the entire summer, so I'm gonna assume it's 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, like June to August.
Okay. Because there was one line that put it into question for me of when Charlie came in and the screen door fell over, and Ethel said that Norman was going to fix that months ago, being plural. And I'm like, oh, what time jump did we just have? How long? How long have they been here? And then obviously
I
they
see.
got a month of watching uh, Bill Jr. Uh, So those are kind of the two frameworks for time passing. So I didn't know if you guys had anything. 2 to 3, I guess, 3 would fit months because months could just be 2 months, and then the third month watching the kid. So I suppose that could work.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't hear um, I didn't
The
hear
line.
the line about it being like, oh, he said he'd fix that months ago. I didn't hear that. I just heard that he said he would fix that weeks ago. Is what I thought, but again, it would still fit either way. So I didn't really have much of an issue with time in this film.
Uh, writer.
Sure. Uh, Another little bit that I really like, Ethel is kind of freaking out because she didn't have a chance to get dressed when Chelsea and Billy Senior and Junior arrive. So she's kind of freaking out and realizes it's too late. So he's just like, "You move the vase," and he's like, "Why?" So he's like, "Just do it, Norman." And then he's like, and then he does it. It obviously spills water, but it's just again, good little bantery bit, and it just kind of shows their relationship dynamic because he does not care about like the fashion sense.
I relate to Norman in that situation because no one commented on the vase and it didn't matter.
Yep. I relate to Norman because I have been told, like everybody else, I'm sure, to do a particular chore or task by my parents because we had guests coming over and no one commented or cared. So it's just,
Clean your room. There's people coming over. People never come into
Who's
the
going to
room.
be in the room? Yeah, who's.
yeah, who's coming into my room? Like,
So yeah, definitely felt that for Norm. Uh, Sprix, I want to hear your thoughts on the relationship between Billy Jr. and Norman, as a whole. What do you think?
I think it was fine with the gradual sense that Billy Jr. did not want to be there, but I think a good starting block being how Ethel's like, "Oh, we'll have a great time," and Billy Jr.'s like, "No, I'm not. Just stay out of my way," and they're not even trying. Norman's first approach is, "You like that word bullshit? It's a decent word. Up, like complimenting something to use as frustration for the kid to connect of like, okay, he's man enough, to even say the word, but not in a negative aspect. And I think that already starts like a good footing because Billy Jr.'s whole approach to it was like he's creepy. I don't want to be in that there with him when he was telling his dad. He goes, I don't know how to go about it. And then they actually have a conversation. And even from that first conversation about cruising chicks and sucking face goes all the way to the end where Norman tells Ethel to suck face. So it's rubbed off the lingo from Billy onto Norman, even though they could have discussed it, over the whole summer when they were hanging out, but it's still a first instance to last instance, which I think is good. But it's also with Norman's mind and memory, he gets into states of frustration that he lashes out onto Billy for, more so for himself, but not purposely being mean to Billy over something he's done. And I think Billy's very good at maintaining sticking up for himself without pushing Norman or being like, I'm done over it, or, receding in the corner by himself. It's a pushback and understanding and a follow up. And I think the
yeah,
fishing is great for the two of them. Something to teach and something for them to kindle over because fishing has a lot of downtime, and that's how you get to know one another. And I think their relationship is very good. I would not say it's phenomenal.
I would also like to tack on just a brief note, Ethel's role in helping Billy to understand why like Norman snaps sometimes after the fire incident. I think that was also very important. Just like he's
Yeah.
very when he yells, her interpretation for it is that he's yelling at life, not necessarily the people around him, which is a very optimistic interpretation, but I think it's very fitting for Ethel's character to perceive it that way. So trying to extend that perspective to other people, I think, is very insightful.
I mean, she pursues it all the way to Chelsea to the point of like, slapping her. Of,
Well, to be fair,
her,
Chelsea did cross a line.
Yeah, she's being
Yeah.
disrespectful.
But on the Billy relationship dynamic, I thought it was great that they both rubbed off on each other and left impact on each other. Like you said, Sprinks, the whole like sucking face stuck with Norm,
Yeah.
and
And Norman gave him the fishing
the
pole, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
taking it on the plane."
Now he enjoys fishing. Uh, and the introduction, as you said, I think was really good, which also posed the question of, was Norman just being Norman and just making a remark, or do you think he was kind of like he already pegged the kid and like, all right, this is the best way to get him to open up is the line he provided.
Hmm.
No, I don't think he had Billy stuck from the get go of like understanding.
I can see
But
that
Norman's older and
interpretation.
wiser,
Yeah.
so I think it was faster for him than Billy.
I can see that interpretation that he might have had it, maybe not have Billy pegged, but as to why he uh, was able to kind of just, you know, drop a subtle hint or drop that line that's going to help come back later when they bond. Um, I do think that works. Like I said, there's a dynamic here where obviously you've said it yourself, Springs, that Norman is way more experienced with just dealing with people and probably is experienced with dealing with kids who dislike him in this case of Chelsea. So he's probably way better equipped to deal with like the disparity between them than Billy's Jr. is. And I do think the scene is that I really love that kind of pays that dynamic off, or at least the start of the dynamic off is when Billy Jr. is trying to like say, "Hey, you don't have to drag me along if you don't want to," and Norman puts his foot down. No, we want you to come, and that sort of thing. And we cut away to see Ethel's reaction to Norman speaking. Uh, and it's I think one of the another really good scene in the film.
Do you think Norman is only named Norman Thaner Jr. for the junior connection to Billy?
Um, I
Strengthen the,
don't.
oh, we have something more in common?
It could be. I don't think it's necessary though. Like the whole weight of the film doesn't rest on that, so it might just be a fun little nugget. But
True. I'm like, why include Junior for Norman? He doesn't touch on his dad like ever. But Billy and Bill do. So that makes more sense to me. So just seeing a connection between Norman and Billy, is it the
could be,
Junior and add-in?
could be. I don't have any issues with it if it is, but just because it's not really utilized all that often, it's just there as a. I don't think the film changes whether you remove it or not. Personally,
Okay.
It's an avenue they could have dove more into, but it certainly is possible that that is a factor of him getting more involved with Billy Jr. Guess you gotta specify.
Who's coming to save you, Junior?
Junior. All right, Aaron, you got something?
I do. Another character moment, shockingly enough, because there's a lot of that here. The when Norman and Billy are kind of bickering over him teaching Billy how to dive. Um, I like that Norman actually gets up and Ethel has to stop him. Whether he means it or not, is kind of irrelevant. But I just the nice little bit to the between Ethel and him, and also adding on to Billy because Billy's it's showing that Bill is enjoying himself. You know.
And I did enjoy him getting up and getting told not to. I do feel he would have done it though.
I feel like he would have jumped
He
into the water. I don't know if he would have dove into the water.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of brazen to death. Like he cares, but he doesn't care too much. And he definitely is the type of guy that would prove himself. I feel.
The the diving pit's diving part is tricky because all the rocks, and he knows about all the rocks, but he did have the whole teaching to dive scene. So I
I
think I'm
think that's
okay
the scene
with
we're
it.
talking about, right?
Oh, just the dive teaching? Sorry,
Yeah,
I got
I'm
shit.
Yeah,
just on the dive teaching. Yes.
when
Oh, okay,
Junior
sorry.
taunted him, then why don't you dive? And he was about to get up,
The
and
stand up in the boat,
Ethel's like,
yeah.
no,
Gotcha. Sorry, I was mistaken. I thought you were talking about when he dived into the cove.
no, no, just Norman getting up to dive. Would
Yeah.
he have dived, or was it just a
Uh,
kind of a visual ploy?
he would've.
Okay,
I
that's
think
kind
he
of what
would've
I'm leaning.
definitely done. Yeah, he's like, "I can totally do it."
I think
I mean,
And
I'm
I
down
would've
to.
liked to see it.
I think he would have tried. I think he would have tried to do it for sure. Or like I said, I think he would have gone up just to have fun with Billy. That's the main point thing from
I mean,
here.
Norman tries to stand up in a boat. I think that's enough to say he would do it.
But just stand up on a boat, but man the front of it, which requires a good amount of balance and stuff. All right,
Man.
Springs.
Sure, another kinda, like, instance that makes me think this movie couldn't be made today because the connotation of the scene's meaning, I guess, would be very different. The whole skinny dipping bit.
That was going to be my next point. Continue.
It's it's weird that Billy comes back and says, "We're going skinny dipping," with his dad's girlfriend, which is odd, and then his
His
dad's
wife is or
girlfriend's
his
mom, because 'cause they're not married yet.
yeah, but his girlfriend's also skinny dipping, which is would be the main drive for him.
For him, yes, I'm talking about the son, Billy Jr.
Junior.
Oh yeah,
Billy Jr.'s like, "Oh, we're doing this, Dad," and then he goes to get his dad, so he wants to skinny dip with his dad?
I mean, this very well could be relic of the time.
Yeah, I'm just
uh,
like, "This is interesting." And
it could
then
be a relic of the
Bill
time.
is like,
Yeah,
"No, you stay here, you stay inside." And then Bill, I guess, is so scared of the shadow of a lawn chair that he doesn't move?
I thought it was a bear,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that I was a little confused with Junior being so excited to get meet up with these people, and even asking Norman, "Hey, you gonna do it?" uh, but it very well could be a relic of the time. I wasn't around. Could be a lot more commonplace.
it could have been like
Something.
it could have been something that families did together regularly. I know my family did some like skinny dipping, but to be fair to my family, they were the nature loving part of my family, so they all skinny dip together with their
Ah,
friends and stuff
Uh,
like that. I was not allowed to
I'm just
go,
saying,
which is a sign of the times of changing.
2026,
But I
yeah, 2026 on Golden Pond skinny dipping scene, that would no,
mean, I don't think they would show it either.
very
But
different. No, they wouldn't show it,
but
but still, like, today's definition kinda thing, I think is far changed.
uh, and something we covered, practical magic. Check out our coverage. Uh, the ants and the daughters went skinny dipping under the moon, and that's also kind of weird to think about. But it's just
A little.
treated as
But is
normal
that, like
there.
yeah, but is that, like, a witchy thing?
it
I
could
don't know.
it could be interpreted as a witchy thing, but that also could be a sign of the times.
That's also true. Wonder if they'll do it in the second movie.
Yeah. Is there
Probably not.
is there is this is a dumb question to ask, but like in every horror movie that's ever made, when a bunch of teenagers go out to a log cabin or on a lake or something like that, do they all go skinny dipping still? Like, is that always thrown around?
Like, in today's horror movie stuff? Or
Kinda, yeah. Either today's or just
I
in general as a trope. I mean, because I know that's kind of a trope. It's like the
I
naked
think the trope
teenagers
has
out there
become
to go die.
yeah,
Yeah.
classic Friday the 13th stuff. I think today the trope for that is more in the meta sense, where it's like, "Oh, let's go skinny dipping. What do you think we're gonna do? Go skin dip and start making out and get slaughtered to death? No, we're gonna stay here. or we're gonna put our swim trunks on, or oh, you know what kind of fungus could go up your ass out there in that one? No, we're gonna be as protected as we can. Like I feel like it's that kind of joke with nowadays.
Where it's kind of inverted now because it's more funny that they stay
Yeah,
inside because they're too aware of like the
yeah.
trope.
It's kind of
Okay.
like the scene in 21 Jump Street when they act as if it's back in the day kind of parking lot. And it's like, yeah, man, what's up? And it's like, no, you can't do that. That's disrespectful nowadays. Like that kind of difference.
Hmm.
So something, I guess technically continuity error, but I see why. It's the loon that they're watching through the binoculars, and the boat drove pretty much through where the loon was. The loon just disappeared by the next shot.
Yep,
It just, we don't see it
the
fly
loons are gone
away or hit. It's just
or
poof.
off. Yeah, no, I agree.
Makes sense. They don't want to film a bird getting hit or have a dummy bird, which might look stupid getting hit.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's
it
definitely
works, but it is continuity error.
something. That might have been the only continuity error I caught. It's a very simple film, which kind of makes continuity a little easier to uphold.
True. They're not Robin Banks.
Yeah, no Robin Banks. Something do I don't know objectively if it's flawed, but Elmer the puppet doesn't really come into play later.
Oh, thank you. I was struggling on the name. You couldn't help me?
Well, I found it in my notes left later, so Elmer the puppet. It kind of felt like a setup without a payoff, other than it just shows more of their dynamic with each other, which is always welcome. But it doesn't like catch on fire as far as I recall when the house
No.
started to catch on fire. Like I feel like that would be the scene. Like, they reference
I
it burning, and then there's a fire scene, and it doesn't catch fire.
no. I don't think that's the purpose of Elmer.
Yeah,
The
since he
purpose of
fell
Elmer
head
is
first into the fire, it's kind of supposed to reference the scene where he falls head first into the what? No,
no. I think
pulling your
it's
leg.
yeah the mentality state of Norman and like a connection there of love, first loves, um, the thought of death, that kind of thing, mortality. At least that's
All
what I
right,
think.
and fair enough. Just with the other examples of like Parcheesi being a setup for it later, um, that one just didn't really have any other connecting tissue other than this scene in isolation.
Yeah, like I said, it does a good job building the character dynamic, which is why it's not removable. But I see what you would want since they set up and pay off a lot of other things. It'd be nice to have a little nugget for Elmer.
All right, writer.
I had a few things rolling around in my head. I think I'm gonna go with Ethel convincing. Well, not really convincing, but talking to Norman about wanting to watch over Billy. Um, Obviously, I quite like the scene, but Ethel's being her cheery self. But you get to see again another turn into as to why she loves Norman, because Norman doesn't really put much of a fuss of wanting to have to be having to watch Billy, and you get the line of like uh, I'm the only one that knows you're such a nice person, that sort of thing. Good stuff for the character dynamic.
I think this poses a question. Are there any bad character interactions?
And character
This is for
interactions.
both of you. Or are they all good to par?
The only one that felt forced to me, well, not really forced, but I think I like it because of ultimately how the scene ends. But I think introducing Charlie into Chelsea and Billy's seniors kind of dynamic, where Billy seniors is kind of sitting on the dock and not doing anything. I think the first part of the scene is very forced, but I think the payoff for it is fine. Does that make sense?
Yes, interesting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think Charlie being introduced, coming to the house for coffee, him and Ethel is fine, but him and Norman feels off.
And Norman is off in that scene, but I get what you mean.
Now, would that be your example of the worst in it, or just bad?
I think the worst in it.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad, but it does feel like Charlie's more of an accessory piece there. Like he's to give more life into the lake and like the community with Ethel, and it's like, oh yeah, we know Charlie. Charlie's been around, but Norman's interactions are more focused to Ethel and what she's saying about Chelsea in the letter, and Charlie's just there. Charlie's not really bouncing or saying anything off of Norman, and just says thanks for the coffee and leaves. Even though this is like our first interaction of Charlie and Norman together.
All right. Like I can understand that. And I guess for myself, I kind of view every interaction as on par, like average to good, maybe a couple greats.
Yeah. To clarify, I don't think the scene with that I was talking about is bad by any imagination. I just feel like that was the most average of the group. I think like it's the lowest average. I think, at least at the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think Billy Jr. and Charlie is the worst one because they doesn't even happen.
Horrible.
Terrible. 0 out of 10 film.
You know what?
Need more Charlie and Billy Jr.
Bill the dad, and the kids at the gas station.
So bad the kids don't even have a name.
Yeah.
Sprix, your turn.
Sweet, my turn. Oh boy. What do I have? Talked about the skinny dipping. Oh, when the cake comes out and all the candles, which is very extravagant looking. Also interesting, like the cake's in the center and the candles aren't really on the cake; they're around the cake, which I guess made it stand out and look interesting. I think maybe it's just I've seen it so many times, and I think it would have been smoother to transition from the blowing of the candles into the next shot rather than blowing out the candles, giving a lull point in the dark before cutting. I think that could have been trimmed in the editing.
Kind of like Impractical Magic. That's a different candle.
My bit with that scene is again Norman gives a very good speech. I like it. It's very he's being a grouchy old man, but he's being humble as well. I think this scene does a good job building his character a little bit as far as being introduced to the whole family dynamic. And yeah, I just like his little speech.
Yeah, talking about how beautiful Ethel is and everything. I think it was the perfect Norman speech. Like,
Yeah,
I can't see him do anything
it's
else.
it's a very in character speech.
Practical, yeah.
But is it anything like the Here birthday cake blowing out?
I don't know. That had a
I don't know. We
way
had a
different
big talk on
feelings and
that.
tones. That had a lot of different stuff going on. That one. So I'm gonna say no, not the same.
Not the same.
But I do think it would have just been better to edit.
A praise I had for the cinematography in the beginning. I didn't timestamp it, but when the car is like pulling up to the cabin after the whole Golden Lake sequence, they have a
Yeah.
focus on the flowers in the foreground, and then the focus snaps to the car in the background, which for this time period, that is a hard shot to accomplish. That I wonder how many takes they had to do with that. Because it's not as easy as with digital stuff now. You had to manually turn it to the exact proper spot on a moving target.
Yeah. They could have.
How I imagine practicing for this would be you set up a like a more or less a giant sticker sign at about the where the car is going to be, and then you practice your zooming on that, and once you have that down, then you could start doing drive-by attempts with film.
You can
you could
either
have a
have.
stopper on the camera. There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it
I'm like the
stood out
stopper
to
on
me.
the camera is the most probably easiest way to do it, where you just have the lens focus and something stationary on the back end of the lens So when you zoom, it stops it to the exact point you need it to be,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like turning your head to making sure like the dial's lined up where it's like, the number you want it set at, and you can just have a stopper set in place.
It's just the reason it stood out to me is a lot of the older films I've seen that have a focus shift are always so slow. This one stood out because of how snappy and quick it was, which just felt more professional.
Yeah, could be just how quick it was to zoom. Um, and being how quick it is makes me think it's more of a stopper. That way, they're not like know exactly like how much their wrist needs to move or whatever to dial it where they need it to be. But it's also not one where I think they did the same exact shot twice and then overlapped the film strip so that one was in focus and one wasn't, because then it would have more of a fade effect.
Well, and doing that with a moving camera is crazy difficult manually. Nowadays, with like the robotic controlled
Oh,
cameras, you
digital,
can
you just
do that
play
really
the
easily.
yeah, do the thing again. But as long as it's stationary, I don't know. They were inventful back then and creative. But I think what was interesting was it didn't feel so jarring, taken away from the nature aspect of the beginning and opening credits with that. They hinted with the car. So like there was the part where you're seeing like the lake, you're seeing the loons, the flowers, and then it shows a little bit of the car, and then it goes back to showing flowers and the birds flying. And then it shows
Yeah.
kind of like an overshot of the lake with the car on the left hand side, like driving away. So you know a car's presence, there's people
You know,
around
there's
this location.
civilization, yeah, but
Yeah. So then when we get to seeing the car the third time, so rules of three, it's parking. So it's not just an immediate cut to people, which was nice for the pacing.
Speaking on the loons, uh, Spranks specifically, Ryder, I'll get your thoughts on it next. Um, what are your thoughts on them, symbolisms and connections and all that jazz?
Yeah. Okay. The loons are very more focused on from Ethel than they are of Norman. Norman doesn't really care at all. It seems her connection of because they're always in pairs. The loons are always like together, and I think I see that as like the nature of always being in the same place and still being a couple and being there for each other and being identical looking for the loons is kind of comparison to Ethel and Norman, or maybe how Ethel sees herself and Norman, of like the two always here at the lake and always together and they're having a great time and they don't want the ruckus and the riff raff of like loud boats and things like the calm mellow being together. And or like her bird calls, like calling out to a loon for a loon to call back to her is like a stronger connection of that. I think, at least to me, that scene seemed like it. But then there's the part with the dead loon in the water. And I didn't know if that was like an omen that Norman's going to die because he's one of the two loons. Being how much it focuses on him just kind of staring at it or just like let it go and not like in his own head picturing what's going on. And I didn't know if that was like a hint of the movie to do something clever where it's like, oh, they're on their trip. Ethel fell and something happened to Ethel because of her connection stronger to the loons than it is to Norman's. And I'm like, what a twist. You think Norman could die because of his mortality this whole time and Ethel's the one who die? I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's what I got out of the dead loon, and I guess the loons as a whole.
All right, and Ryder, your thoughts on it?
so broadly speaking, didn't the symbolism of the dead loon. I took that as an omen that okay, something bad's going to happen, and it does. Norman loses his footing. There's a question of whether he'll survive and stuff like that. Um, so I also think that reinforces his constant encroaching death that he is afraid of. Um, so I think it serves a purpose in that sense. Because the loons are brought up so often, this is a direct contrast to that because Ethel always brings up the loons in like to celebrate like their life and stuff like that. Like, oh my gosh, the loons are here to greet us. Like the loons are an extension of like the what they love about being here on Golden Pond, but also like in a more meta sense, the because of how they're brought up, they're always in reference to do they're doing something fun with their lives, etc., that sort of thing, or they're brought up in the context of their relationship. And it's because of that I think the dead loon is there explicitly to contrast that, to kind of remind you of encroaching death, which is what Norman's dealing with as far as growing old. And that to me I think is what a lot of the loons represent symbolically. uh Literally, like on the surface level of the script, I think they provide enough context for the two of them to have good interactions throughout the story. um like Norman wanting to flip off the boat that's like, scared off the loons, and then Ethel following suit and Norman puts her hand down. I think
I do think
there's
it's funny they gave him the bird
Yeah.
for
They
scaring
flipped the
birds.
Yeah, they flipped the bird for scaring birds. And then but like also it's just funny dynamic of how he's like, yeah, no, I can flip them off, but you can't, Ethel, because you're respectable, that sort of thing. So I think the loons also provide a lot of good character dynamics in the smallest sense with regarding that. So I quite like the loons in the story. Their symbolic meaning obviously can be debated, but I do like their literal presence in the story.
All right. And for myself, it's pretty much a culmination of what both of you have thrown out there. It's clearly a parallel visually. You got two couples, you got the birds, you got both of them. I also read the death of that one as like alluding to Norman's mortality and potential death at the end of the film. I didn't see it as a hint to Ethel's, but I do like that concept of a fake out. Like, oh, it's not, it's not Norman, it's Ethel. That's not how they chose to go, but I kind of like the idea of that. Um, and then in the literal sense, I'm trying to figure out because at the end, Norman they see the two birds again, and Norman comments that the little one's gone off to school or whatever he said. Like it's away.
Maybe they've all gone off to California.
Yeah, and I'm curious if the dead one was the kid or one of the parents, and Norman can't see very well. It's established he thought the two boats
Oh,
were
that's dark.
the loons. Yeah, because I mean, we only get established the couple loons, and then we hear that there's a kid, so we know there's three loons. Then they comment one's missing while we have a dead one.
So we know there's more than one kid, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Is it only ever confirmed that there was three loons?
I
It
don't
was
think
the
it's
couple,
confirmed
and
how many
then
loons
they
there
said they
are.
had a kid.
I thought there was
We
kids
know the loons.
plural, but
We know the loons closest to their residence.
Yeah.
I thought it was
I doubt
kids
there's
plural, but
Yeah.
okay. If it's just the one, that is definitely very dark, but it still fits.
I doubt they're the only loons because when they say they're not going to go to Purgatory Cove and they stick to their own cove, they found a loon out at Purgatory Cove. So loons are more than just their area.
They're
Yeah, so I
native
would
to this
imagine they would
region.
be around. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I suppose that would make Ethel a lunatic.
But she's definitely a bird watching lunatic. That's for sure.
But she's out in the
Yes.
dark making voices to them, which wakes Norman, I think.
Did it wake him? Wasn't he getting dressed with the tie and stuff for the visit?
Oh, that was it. That was it. Yeah, sorry. No, he was doing the tie
Yeah.
in the mirror and heard it.
I did like how they view each other. I guess I don't really see that in a lot of stuff with like older couples, where she's like, "Oh, the sexy tie," or the him kissing her neck when Billy Jr. drives the boat alone.
Blatantly
Like they're
affectionate.
they're, they're
Yeah.
s- still affectionate. It was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, a lot of films tend to shy away from that, but obviously, don't the couple's letting the romance die is on the couple, pretty much. So
First 10 minutes of Up.
I mean, sure, yeah. Is it 10
It,
minutes?
I don't know. It's always said 10 minutes. I think it's a little longer than 10 minutes, but
I don't know. I
the
yeah,
don't see
beginning of
him
Up.
kissing the
up's
neck,
another good
alluding to
example.
them fondling later.
No, they're not fond doing, but their first date of having like the picnic, and then older age still going up that hill for a picnic. That is still affection.
Yes, their romance did not die until she did. Spoilers.
And even still, it didn't. He
Mm.
loves Ellie through that whole movie, but we're not covering Up. So he loves Ellie so much that he'll let Russell die and get kidnapped.
Yes, yes, he would.
I met
All
Russell. I don't blame
right.
him. that's that's a joke. Let's see. I will jump ahead a little bit to the Norman's white whale, the Walter. Um, I do
Walter the
like the
Rainbow Trout.
Walter the Rainbow Trout. I do like the catch, but they let him go. I think that's really nice. It's a nice little character thing. Like the thrill of the chase was in the chase for him, not the dining on to eat. You know.
Yeah, a
Well,
continuation of rivalry.
not just that, but the connection of life. Like they talked about how he's the fish has earned a longer life.
Yeah.
When the whole film's kind of loomed over by Walter's view of death.
Norman's view of death. Yes.
What did I say?
You said Walter's view of death. I
Walters.
imagine the
Oh,
fish does have
yeah,
a
Walter
concept
the
of death,
fish.
but
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
Norman's concept of death.
I want to see the
Uh,
Finding Nemo sequel with Walter. That would be.
there you go,
I don't think I'm good.
Walter the Rainbow Trout. Do they say how long he's been hunting Walter?
I
I
don't think
did
there's
look
an
up.
exact time.
I did look up trout lifespans, so I didn't know if there was an established time in this or not.
I don't know. I don't remember there being an established timeline. I know it's been more than a couple years, at least, because they come out here every summer, but.
So the average lifespan of a rainbow trout is 5 to 7 years. The record for oldest rainbow trout recorded is 11 years.
Okay, I could believe it's been 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
That's feasible. I just didn't know if there was a time that I missed or not, because it seems like it's a long term rivalry. Ryder, you're up.
Alrighty. I will jump to. Is it too much that Norman's using the wrong end of a match?
No, it shows deterioration.
Okay.
Question
I
is
I
it too
I get the
extreme of a deterioration?
yeah, like I
I
get the
don't.
intention behind it. It's supposed to show in deterioration. I'm just kind of questioning whether it's like a little too much.
I don't think so because no one's around him when he does it. So it makes sense. You take the match out, you light it, and it's in his hand, and you can see the wood in his hand, and it's just not sparking. I think it's fine, and I do know with dementia and situations like that, it's not a gradual decline. It's more like spotty. So there's some
Mm,
instances where it's like worse one day, and then the next day it's like next couple days they're totally fine, and then maybe it's like 2 days or something. Like it
yeah,
doesn't just get worse and worse and worse. It does get worse and worse and worse, but it's not
it's
a
a gradual
loss.
decline.
Yeah, but it's spotty in parts. Like they could be like, man, they've had this for a year and still have a day where they don't have it at all.
Yeah,
So
I mean all that's true. The hard thing for me with this scene in particular is it's one thing to like forget where the matches are, and another of forgetting how to use them. He knows he needs to
Was
strike it, but he doesn't know which end,
was he wearing
and
his
that's
glasses
kind
in
of
that
the.
scene? Like it would have been a
I
nice
do
little detail if he
not
didn't have his
remember.
glasses on, so he couldn't fully see it properly.
His glasses were on.
Okay, never mind then.
So that's what I'm tackling is not remembering how to use it. He knows how to use it. He just didn't know the right side of it, which is the iffy part. So for me, it's gray enough to where I don't think I can hold it negatively. But it
It's
is not a preferable scene. I would have preferred if he couldn't find the matches, opposed to misusing them.
I think it's
Yeah.
okay because we only see one match. We don't see him being like, this one didn't work, throwing it. This one didn't work, throwing it. Like the luck of like the 50-50, which end is he going to strike? It just seems the one match that he's trying is not working. Which leads me more on it's okay.
Yeah, I think it would have been on the damage ladder for me if the scene went along a little too much. But I think as it is, it's not on my damage ladder either. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's pretty borderline for me. But
I will.
everything revolving around it, I liked. I like Billy's like offer to help and fix it. I like Norman listening to him and then blowing him off for like pride and self security. I guess like he
Yeah,
doesn't want to believe he's this broken right now.
yeah, and also the just the setup with all the papers right next to the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he forgot to put up the gate, the barrier. I think
Yeah,
that's a good use of the memory thing.
I agree.
When
And he
when the
immediately takes it as he's a danger to everyone. He doesn't like go like he does yell at life directed at Billy, but he isn't like,
but it's
oh, it'll be fine. Oh, it'll never happen again. He's immediately like, oh, I've realized what I've done.
I guess then it's not safe to be around me, huh? It's not safe for me to be here. Is what he says.
Yeah.
There's a good insight into him. I think Norman is a guy that cares more about others than himself through this whole film.
I think there's a
Yes.
high likelihood in the recap you're going to say Norman's your favorite character.
I mean, we still got some season left to go to see some.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, I know.
I know
We
what's on the
know.
docket left.
I would be
That doesn't
impressed
sway
if
me.
anybody deposes that Norman from Crimson's favorite character pick for the recap.
I could be wrong. I
Last
could be
year,
surprised. But
could
It would
could
be a good bet
Billy.
to
I
make.
really like Billy.
it's not.
I actually like all the characters in this. I think if I was to rank, and when I say characters, I mean characters, not just like Charlie, who's got like 4 minutes of screen time.
Charlie's the character.
Chelsea would probably be at the bottom. I would have pretty much everyone above her, which is unfortunate because I like Jane Fonda and what I've seen her in. Anyways, I think I've seen her in 3 other things: 9 to 5, Cat Ballou, and
Oh yeah, 9 to 5. Well, it's funny. She and the actor who plays Bill Senior are both in 9 to 5 because he plays the boss.
oh, yeah, I didn't remember that.
Nepotism. Love it. No, you probably earned the job, but
Darn, I don't remember the. I know there's another thing I've seen her in.
I
But yeah.
I do like a little bit of the setup for them going out into the storm. Like Ethel's like, hey, the loons say that like the loons are acting like there's going to be a storm. You're going to regret going out now. So I like this as a bit of setup, but it doesn't deter Billy or Norman from having fun. Even though obviously it does turn into a disaster by the end, but
Yeah.
I agree with that. I like them trying to sneak out when she's going for mushrooms and stuff.
yeah, she was so ready for them to sneak out. Was not going to
Yeah.
fool her at all.
And her playing tough guy, but as they walked away, she smirks and like, "Oh, well, those are my boys," type look.
Yeah. am glad. Like I'm glad they bounce back into them going fishing because obviously they've been as they say, like they've been stuck inside for the last 2 weeks or something like that doing puzzles. So at that point they're sick of like doing puzzles all the time. So we kind of skip the usual drama of like, oh, they're afraid to go out again.
Yeah, and I guess to Norman's credit, I didn't really think about it till now. He actually kept his word. He didn't leave the area. He stayed in the normal spot that he thought was empty of trout.
Trout. I agree. I like that because he does love and listen to his wife.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this: I do think it's plot armor that Norman is conscious after the impact of him getting flung off the boat.
It's a scale, I guess, a percentage. Which, like,
I
what
think
are the
this.
odds he'd be conscious, or how he get? He got blood on his forehead, so it's not just like
A
splashing in the water. He
Yeah,
had to have hit
that's a
something.
gray area for me.
Yeah, I'm putting this on the damage lever at a nitpick. I think, just because they show him hit the water like head first, or if he doesn't, I'm sorry, I don't think it shows him hit the water head first, but we see the bleeding from the head.
He hit something, yes. We don't know how deep in the water that rock, upon contact, was for him to hit.
Yeah,
Rock could kind of stick on the surface of the water. I mean, we don't really get a
It was not a
close
stick.
up.
No, it was not
Yeah.
a stick.
It very well could be a stick on the
It
top.
could
You
have
don't know
been a
that.
stick. It was not a stick.
You don't know that. Could be the
I
dead
am
loon.
I am 90%. I am 100% certain
No,
it's
that
not the dead
one's
loon.
sick. So
I'm 90% certain it wasn't a stick. It's probably a
we know he
rock.
took physical damage,
Yes.
which would not normally be resulted in splashing into the water. Had to have been an object.
yeah. I, I mean, like I said, it could just be there to convey that he's in trouble, but I think because of that, I'm more leaning to that it is some plot armor that he survives long enough to stays conscious long enough to hold Billy up to a rock before he, I feel like
Yeah. In
there's a lot of plot armor for him in this scene, and
my
Billy less so, but Billy is trying to swim with a full grown old man on him, so I
Yes,
do
and this is what I
like.
thought you were talking about earlier, Billy diving into rocks.
Oh yeah, I
Because
don't.
he can't see what's below him in the water. He just full on dives in to get, which very valiant of him to go save Norman, but he could have suffered an injury just as much.
Yeah,
And
I
Ethel.
the thing I don't like about him diving off is because we see that the boat is under, like the rock is under the boat in multiple scenes. So him diving off is a continuity error, I think. Just how cleanly he lands into
Well,
water. But
I suppose continuity error I see is the boat is ruptured on the front, yet when we see the boat has sunk, it's in the back right. It should have been the front right.
is it? I thought it was in the front still when we see it starting to sink.
No, when starting to sink, yes. When it cuts back to showing the boat has sunk, it's the back right of it. The front left is what's sticking up out of the water. So it took water
Hmm.
from the back.
Okay.
No, I don't think.
Unless you're saying the hole from the front filled the hole, the
Yeah,
bottom
it made it
hole
bottom
to the
heavy.
back.
Yeah, that's generally how that works.
Yeah, it would have that I think is fine. It would have been bottom heavy. So when the back of it's sinking and because the front part of it's still on the land, I had no issues with that.
I guess I just had that off in my head.
Mm.
No, my nitpick is how little too on the nose it is for the symbolism of the scene of being Purgatory Cove and Norman facing a life or death situation to question mortality, especially with the dead loon and then his incident.
Yeah, it might have happened a little too close together. I think it's fine that it's called Purgatory Cove. Like I said, I'm more about the plot armor in the scene. That's really that bugged me a little bit.
Well, I still think that fits a little into the plot armor of the namesake. Like it's Purgatory Cove. It's not like Death Corner, or the graveyard of boats, or something like that. Like this is like the middle ground. So he still gets injured, of an old age, but he's not dead. But he's like farther along from living, kind of thing.
Yeah. I will also say this plot armor that they're able to hang on to the rock for so long. At least Norman, anyway.
For
Yeah, no, it's
hours.
been hours. They could have like let go with one hand and swapped to the other hand, or I just don't
I,
know how Billy would have stopped the bleeding.
I mean, it wasn't like super bad head wound,
No,
but
but there should be
we
some
also
pressure
don't
on it.
know like how shallow it is at this rock. They could like rest their knees on the bottom. I mean,
That's true.
we
They
don't
could
really
be,
know what it
but
looks like.
Yeah,
but
they're just
given
waiting.
what the film is portraying, I'm not gonna do that. That's writing for them. They don't
I will
show how
say
shallow it is.
in the fact finding, this whole bit was super shallow. You they were at knees depth for the film. So they did struggle sometimes making it look like they were swimming because they might actually hit their legs at the bottom.
Okay, I mean, good. It's probably for the best for the safety of the actors.
Yeah. Uh, so I think even without that information, there is enough to give there might be more of a perch on the rock. It
Okay,
would
they
be
would
small
show
at the
it.
top, wider towards the
They
bottom.
could show that. They did not.
Yeah,
So I'm still that's still on going to be on my damage
yeah,
letter. It's another
can't
nitpick.
roll it in without seeing.
I think Ethel and Charlie finding them is okay. I'm fine with Ethel having a sixth sense because it's kind of established later on. Like, how did you find us? It's and then she just drops off lunch and then boats away.
I
Um,
think it's also fine getting the mailman's help and not calling the police,
yeah, because the mailman's got
which is
another
how
boat.
this community is.
They could have. I feel like they could have phoned in the police immediately, which would have been fine. But the two of them would go out and start the search.
Yeah. Well, it explains later, even when Norman falls over, Ethel's thought isn't to call the police or a hospital or anything until Norman brings it up.
I I do appreciate when finding him, they talk that they've looked everywhere and that Charlie like, well, they must have docked somewhere, and then she's like, well, they could have gone here. Like, oh, they'd be crazy going there. That's just his character. So it's not like, all right, they went straight to the place they crashed. It was like the last option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, adds a bit to the plot armor, but I will give them a little bit more credit here. It's like I don't know how big or expansive the lake is with all its little inlets and stuff like that. So
Well, we saw Billy driving around. It's a pretty big lake.
that is very true.
Oh, why the hell it's called a pond?
Yeah, 0 out of 10 accuracy for the title.
Doesn't
You know what? Golden
Uh,
Lake. There is no pond.
sound as good. I
No, it
also
doesn't.
don't know what the definition of a pond is. Like, what's the size restriction for a pond? Because a pond is just
Great
like an
question.
enclosed water source. Same as a lake.
I'll look
That's
it up.
also an enclosed
Is
water
this
source.
is this a square rectangle thing?
I'll look it up.
I guess additional fact when doing the research. Um, oh, shoot, what was her name? Something Hepburn. um, the
Okay.
actress Catherine Hepburn. Um, she wanted to dive. They had a stunt person, and she said no. So that was actually her diving into the water without a wetsuit like everybody else had. She said she didn't need
Oh
one.
wow. All her practice on African Queen.
Apparently,
Yeah, maybe.
she actually takes cold showers. Uh, found that in the facts. She takes cold showers and she frequently swims in colder waters. It's like a hobby. So
Oh, all right. It's kind of neat, actually. I also take cold showers, but mostly during the summer.
I looked up pond.
So did
all right.
I.
Pond.
So
It's a lake type. So it's like a subcategory from a lake, where it's a small, shallow freshwater system where sunlight often penetrates to the bottom.
Okay. I mean, we do see that when they're watching for the rocks that you can see the bottom. The boat doesn't sink all the way because it might be hitting the bottom. So could constitute.
Yes. And my source is from brandywine.org, just in case.
that line up with your findings, Ryder?
Yep, I also was reading off Brandywine, so
I guess I just didn't realize that a pond is a branch off of lake of its own.
the
I thought they
more
were
you
two
know.
distinct. Yeah. It's
But
like a
I
stream, a
what's the
branch off
definition
of
of a
river.
puddle?
Well, you
I
should
don't
be
know.
an expert in
I know
that.
some experts who are going to go drown in it, but
Yep, yep. Oh, that's took a turn.
Um, let's see. Well, I don't know who started that. Probably me. We'll go with Ryder.
okay. Following that, I will jump to, I guess, Chelsea's return, because it's a very long scene that she has with Ethel. And we can see them celebrate, have fun together, and we can see the scene slowly degrade because Chelsea's very jealous of Billy Jr.'s relationship with Norman. Um, and we can see that kind of surface to her estrangement, and then obviously when she says crosses the line, Ethel slaps her. She runs off because she knows she crossed the line and dives into the water to cool off. I think that's a very literal version of what she's trying to do. I think it works effectively to get the point across. And then they talk more later on. Um, I think it's a very very good scene in terms of the dialogue takes you on a journey, and all of it feels natural because we stick with that scene for a long period of time. And I just quite like the dialogue in that scene.
Gotcha.
I like the direction they took with Chelsea in this scene because it could have been very simple, where she just went there, pick up Billy Jr. and like, hey, I'm glad you guys took care of him and he's still kicking. But no, they made her jealous. They made her jealous of how Norman treated Billy Jr. and how she felt robbed with her childhood. I think it was very cool how
I
they
like the setup for
did
that
that.
too. It's set up earlier in the film.
Mhm. I guess talking about this scene, did they do a good job on not necessarily Chelsea's flip, but like how quickly she's trying to soften up? I don't know the best way to phrase it. It kind of somewhat felt artificial to me, Chelsea.
Initiate it.
Yeah.
That I don't think gave too much for me on what initiated her to take the step. However, the awkwardness of the start of the conversation to then go into the backflip comparison to Billy to make a bonding moment of she did it with praise of Norman that she did it, I think that was great. But her to start it, I didn't really get.
I think.
Other than
Oh,
the spark of Billy and Norman having a friendship made her jealous, and that's what
yeah.
changed because that is
Uh,
different.
I do think the jealousy's fine motivation. I I think that jump from her wanting to take the step. I think the previous scene with the two of them, I think, is doing a lot of the heavy lifting to know that it's been on her mind, and it's on her mind every time that she's there and sees Norman. So I think the previous scenes do the heavy lifting, at least for her quote unquote quick transition. Because the dialogue I can track really well. It makes sense, everything they say logically to kind of get her to the quote unquote correct conclusion, which is being the one to broach Norman. In terms of pacing, it is a little bit quick. I don't know if I have it on. I don't know if it's enough for me to put it on the damage ladder, but I would agree that the pacing is quick.
Okay. Sprinks.
That's me. Let's see here. How many? Yeah. How many boats do they own?
2 for sure.
I think it's 3.
All right, throw it out there.
Uh, uh, huh! They have 3.
I mean,
So,
like, what are the
no,
three? Not the one that
yeah,
sang.
the one that sank, their paddle boat, and then the one that Ethel rode out to give them food.
Oh, I thought the paddle boat was the same one as the one that she rode out to give them food. They just weren't using the engine because they wanted to
No,
paddle
those are
around.
two separate boats.
Okay, then yeah, they have three.
And
They
then
don't
there's
have
the
them
mail
all
boat.
docked. Well, yeah, but they don't have that. I'm just saying, like,
I
they
mean, the
have
paddle boat doesn't necessarily have
three.
to be docked. That could just be hold on to land.
I guess so, but then there's that two that should be seen in the water that aren't. It's in a boathouse, but they don't have a boathouse. Or whatever those things are called, where it's like on the water with the shelf and you put the boat in.
I think that's a boathouse.
It's still a
It's a
boathouse? Okay.
boathouse. It's a
But I'm not a
boathouse.
rich person, you know. That's a rich person thing.
That's a rich person question. I don't know. Have we? Can we own one of those in GTA? Have we checked?
No, I don't think there is a boathouse, I think, in GTA 5, but you can't buy it. So yeah, they just have a lot of boats. But since that was such a minor thing, I'll jump to what I think was my favorite joke that did get a chuckle out of me in the movie was Norman telling Ethel that he guts the smart fish and Billy gets the dumb fish, but he doesn't have a lot of smart fish to cut because they are in schools. I thought that was very clever.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I
was
smirked at
funny.
that one.
I wrote that one down.
That was one I didn't write down, but I did smirk at the joke.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a pretty funny movie, all things considered. Like you mentioned earlier, it is my kind of humor, old man humor.
Yeah, but it's not Grumpy Old Men. It's way funnier. I'm just comparing it to that because that movie's fixated on old funny guys.
I mean, it's a very different dynamic.
Yeah. I suppose
'Cause
Going in Style is also a good example.
I would say this is more funny than that. But
I think Going in
that's just
Style.
I would say that.
Ooh, I don't know.
Well, I will also admit I would probably need a rewatch of that as well because it has
Yeah, I'm like
been a
Alan
while.
Arkin is your type of humor guy. Like Santa Claus 3, that's your funny.
Is it?
Uh,
Oh my god! Oh my god! I just almost got skewered by a swordfish. Oh my god! Oh my god! That's from Get Smart. That's
yes,
Oh.
I remember.
I could tell from the sounds of Springs he didn't remember what it was.
Ranks us in Get Smart once.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I've
I've seen
seen
Get Smart
One Style
once every other year.
oh wow.
It's a good movie.
It's a fun movie. The funny enough, before we get back on topic, the last person I showed Get Smart to, they weren't a big fan of it.
It's unfortunate.
Truly.
I mean, that's like a probable top tenner for me.
Well,
Crimson
hey,
Lore,
it's one of your rare 10 out of 10 movies.
it is. What was I gonna? The screen door that was busted throughout. Then Billy Jr. fixed with Norman off screen. Nice little bonding thing. The only reason I bring it up is because Chelsea comes in, opens it, it's fine, and then when she leaves, she's like, "Oh, the door's broken." Like, it worked when you opened it. Why is it broken to you now?
She broke it. It was
But
her
it
fault.
doesn't fall.
That's why. No,
It's
that's why
there.
Norman never fixed it. It reminded him of Chelsea. It's her
Yeah.
fault.
Chaotic Witch breaks the door every time
She
she
broke
walks
it
in.
20 years ago and just hasn't fixed it. So I guess that's technically a inconsistency. It worked when she opened it, and then when she left, she claimed it was broken, though she had not seen it break.
Uh,
Render.
yeah, I will jump way back to when Chelsea and Ethel are having the conversation about how is his memory doing, and then the camera slowly pans up to Norman sitting upstairs, like standing upstairs, looking down on them because he knows that they're talking about him. Whether or not he can hear, I don't know, but he knows that he's the
I
main subject, and
I
so
think he can hear them because his next comment to Billy is, "Let me show you the bathroom if I remember where it is."
Yeah, I totally think he's listening in.
yeah, like I said, I think you can interpret it either way, but I agree with you guys. I think he actually is listening in.
Because then I think Chelsea's like, yeah, he's still his same old self. Something akin to that. Ryder, you're up.
Sure, I like. As the Chelsea and Norman have their conversation, I do like that Norman's a little more nonchalant than Chelsea is, and Chelsea's trying to press the point because for her it's been a much bigger, important thing, and Norman's being a little bit more casual about it. Whether it's like you can interpret that as him just being like having an old man sense of humor about everything, but I do like that she's like says when she wants to come around more often, he immediately says that her mother would really appreciate it. You know, so Norman's not really thinking of himself in that moment, or he's deflecting. You can read it either way, but I do think he's just highlighting more of his character.
Yeah, I mean, every is it too bold to say? Just every scene
Say
with
it.
all
Say
these
it.
characters just are like multifaceted or
There's
strong.
a lot of layers to the dialogue, which is so awesome.
That is bold.
It is bold, every single one. But a lot of them are multifaceted or just very strong in their presence. Springs, you can add on or
Well, I think that's a
do
good
your own.
thing. It makes them define themselves more. They don't seem, back placed for one character to shine over the other. Makes them feel
Yeah,
believable. Let's see here. Does this movie earn its 2 death scares with Norman? Does it fall in like a boy cried wolf situation?
I
it's a
think
tough one. You can go first, right?
okay. I think they're okay because it's kind. This is when you kind of have to feel it out with each movie. I think it works because one of them is an accident and the other is mundane. You get two scares of a very different kind.
Different forms of it, yes, but still written in as 2 situations of Norman could die.
Yeah, I think the fact that
Yeah,
they're,
whether
but
to me that's like finding it's like, oh, one was a gun, one was a knife. It's like, yes, they're different, but still
uh,
lethal.
I don't know. I don't know if I would simplify that down like that as much, but I get what you're saying. Um,
I
I
guess.
think it's
Never mind, keep going.
no. I don't. I'm just gonna. I feel like I'm gonna repeat myself. So you go.
Okay. Like the boat incident, I never felt like that was like a potential death scene when I was watching. I'm like, okay, they're gonna get found. He'll be fine. I didn't really feel like it was a death scene. The last one certainly did feel like a death scene, and they built it up the whole movie. They were alluding to it that Norman's gonna die, and then they did a subversion. He's fine, uh, and I think they earned the subversion. I think the tone of the film fits it. Norman's actions make sense for Norman. So I guess to answer your
Yes.
question, I do feel like it's earned. I just didn't really feel like the first one was all that much of a death scare.
Okay. I guess that's the difference. I did feel like the first one was a death scare because then it could have been led into like he goes to a hospital or he's dying out. Let's get the family. Let's get Chelsea back from her vacation in time before he's gone, or something like that. Can be the rest of the movie to show like the element of time for mortality, or like no, I don't think the message is like treat every day like it's your last or something like that, but just like those you care about spend the most time with, and maybe that falls onto like a guilt for Chelsea to make their conversation stronger of understanding one another better or something like that, just like at the placement of where that boat incident takes place. But it isn't that, but it is still like a head injury, he's fine, and the head injury, it's like, does that worsen the memory thing, is it a concussion, something like that, which doesn't come through. But then when it happens again with his second scare of a death, and I went, oh shoot, was that like all just foreshadowing purgatory? And this isn't, in that quote unquote purgatory area, and this could be real, and it's not. When it's not, part of me is like, okay, good, he's survived. Been seen, he's part of this movie the whole time. But another part of me is like, they didn't follow through with it in the purgatory one for reasons. They didn't follow through with this one for reasons. I feel like if there was a third one, it wouldn't work, whether it was a fake out or real death.
I agree with that. I think that would fall under Boy Who Cried Wolf. if they did a third. And I guess for the boat scare, I guess my mind was just going through movie meta. I guess like if he would have died there, Billy would have felt like he killed him, and I just don't think the movie would handle that.
I think
So I never really took it as a
Chelsea.
serious
I
threat.
think Bill and Chelsea coming back, Bill would have approached it a different way that wouldn't have worked, and Chelsea, knowing her dad of Norman, could have healed herself in what he did teach her as younger for a child, or like actually what she did retain the good parts of him, but the bad overweighs of why she stayed so distant. Heals her, relaying that information of Norman to Billy. Could have worked like that.
Sure, yeah, I mean that wasn't my headspace while watching it though.
No,
Um,
just different movie, but just what could have been if they went with that approach.
I guess follow up question: should he have died at the end?
That's a really tough one.
Hmm.
The whole movie feels like someone's going to die.
I guess for me, I should have. No, I think it's fine that it faked out. Would it have been better?
I don't know.
That's the hard one. I think it would be about on par.
I
It'd
think
probably be more emotional, but I
yes.
think
I was about to say it would have been a more
I think it would
emotional.
still fit the movie either way, about the same, but it would be more emotional.
And
And
people cherish
yeah,
emotions more because it hits them closer. If you can get an emotion out of someone, it's usually better for the movie's sake. But it's not the purpose of the movie to make someone cry. It's the purpose of the movie to tell a good story.
yeah,
Ugh.
and they both play in character. It feels justified with what we have.
I
Oh,
I'm like 51% on should have died.
very close.
Yes, very close. Just for the sake of the fake out with the boat one prior.
Ryder, what about you?
Well, I'm not as harsh on like the fake out thing, personally, but as to whether he should have died at the end, I I don't know. The movie is trying to have an upbeat feeling for its ending, because he didn't die, so there's subversion, so they're going to continue on being happy and stuff like that, and maybe they'll come back to Golden Pond next year. It's the emotion that you're getting hit with is very different than it is for uh it would be for death. So I guess it depends on the emotional high you're going for. And it's because I think I've seen way too much in the cynical side of films, and I think the last few years I'm kind of leaning towards I'm glad they lived through to the end. Um, but if I were to be objective about it, as much as I think the movie earns its two fake out deaths. I think if we removed the first one and we have just the last fake out death, I think the happy ending would have hit stronger.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
So that's where I'm at with
Swap it.
this.
Actually, make Billy the one in the front who got in the water, and then it's a scare Norman going after Billy, and it's like, oh my gosh, is Norman going to be safe? Is Norman going to be okay getting in that water?
And that works too because
Make that the scare.
and that works too because Billy's also inexperienced with like navigating at the front of a boat. So
Yeah. Well, I saw it as like a possibility when he took the boat for a spin. He's not wearing a life preserver. He's on that boat by himself, riding around on it super fast. I went, oh shoot,
mhm.
is something going to happen being by himself? So if you swap it so Billy's the one who falls in the water, it would be different. But with the dead loon, I think that's already alluding to a connection to Norman for Norman to get in the water to go after Billy.
So I think that's gonna be my two bit sense. I think as the movie is, I think he should have died. I think that would be stronger for the film. However, if the scare earlier in the film didn't happen, I think I would be leaning towards happy ending.
Then what to you is a better choice to change?
Hmm. I mean,
For him to die at the end or for Billy and Norman to swap?
My
earlier.
I would prefer the swap earlier. My whole thing is
Okay.
I don't. This is a subjective thing for me. I prefer happy endings when they're earned. So as the film is right now, like just objectively, purely for the writing, I think him dying at the end would be a better choice for the film. If we did the tweaking um from earlier on, um I would obviously much prefer a happier ending. Objectively. But subjectively I still like that we got the happy ending.
On
Was
the
that
side
too
that I think
convoluted?
it would have been. No, no, no. I'm on the side that I think I would have much preferred Billy and Norman swapping for the boat scene. Because then the one at the end here would have had a harder impact of like, oh my god, he is dying, and it's not. And you're like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, they can live happy. They're still fine, without feeling like, oh, the movie's faking out, faking an injury again.
More on the flip, when they first go to the purgatory entrance, Billy's like, "Do you know how to navigate through there?" And he's like, "Yes, of course I do. Now, tell me where the rocks are." This could be another forgotten thing. Like he forgot this rock was here. They could set it up as a memory thing.
Oh, I always thought it was going to be um, Norman's going to swap left and right.
I think that'd be better for Billy because Billy's learning the terminology.
Okay.
I don't think that would really make much sense with Norman. But if you forgot where one of the rocks were, and then he hits that sending Billy, I think that would be cleaner. But since you both said your pieces on it, I don't prefer this swap. I'm I prefer the Billy launching Norman.
Okay. We also don't really get much guilt over Billy doing that. Like how Billy feels about launching Norman. It just kind of just brushes off.
Well, we get a 1 week jump of them doing puzzles, so I think it kind of would be a little movie-ish if after a week of them being together that he's like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry about it, Norman. I'm just I feel so
No, we
guilty."
don't need to be that level of extreme, but it's like, oh, we're gonna go fishing and just a little bit of Billy like, are you sure? Do you want me to drive? Just to double check kind of thing. Do you want to like, are you ready for this? Just that kind of thing. Not apologizing too much or profusely being like, oh, you know, I don't know if we should do this. I don't think it needs to get to that level,
Yeah,
but just a
and with
little
what
bit of like a
it's
rekindle ship.
what's portrayed, when Ethel left, they both immediately beeline to the fish skiing gear and left. So it's something they'd already talked about doing.
That
Yeah,
they made a
another off
plan.
screen thing.
So I think with what we have presented, there's not really a place for that because of the time jump, and then they clearly had some communication before Ethel left for mushrooms.
Yeah,
Um, guess one more each. Is that fine?
I can do that.
I can do
All
that.
right. Then I guess we'll go down the line, starting with Ryder.
All right. Does Chelsea earn the dad line?
Yes, I
She
think
calls
so.
him dad once in the entirety of the film, and it is at the end.
It's their goodbye. But first she calls him Norman, then says Dad.
Yeah.
I guess tagging onto that question with a question. Did she do that because she felt like it, or she did that as like a stepping stone? Like intentionally thought that so Norman would feel good.
Crimson, I'm not going to answer your question until you answer Ryder's.
Okay.
Because I feel like answers to that question could sway your answer.
Okay. Um, what's it earned? Uh, no, I think it's too early.
To give my bid
I
on it. Oh,
I was just going to take the opportunity to answer Crimson's question then. But
wait, do you want me to
Uh,
go? Host pick.
okay. All right, host. Sprinks go.
there we go. I got host carded. No, Crimson, I don't think she said it just to give him emotion with the name.
So it's purely her feeling that, and it came out.
Yes.
That's what you're going. Okay.
Yes, that's why it makes a lot better that she said Norman first for me. She didn't just say goodbye, Dad.
All right.
Like calling him Norman felt a little off to her after what they just went through. So then she comfortably said Dad.
And then, Ryder, what you were going to say?
I was gonna say my bit on this is, I think the film's emotions work to get to the point of her calling him dad. I think that's fine. It fits the emotion of the film. It might be too soon for Chelsea's character. I don't necessarily sense that they have gotten their relationship to that point yet with over the course of one scene. But maybe if we had like another scene with the two of them, I would buy into it that it's more in character for her. But I don't disagree with your interpretation, Sprinks, either. It could just be what she feels in the moment, because Chelsea is very much a what do I feel in this moment? I'm going to act it. She doesn't really hide her feelings.
Yeah, the reason Eileen it's a little fast because it's her whole life she's had this animosity or disagreement with her father, and he's semi reciprocated it. It's debated on to what degree, because as we talked, he's pretty open to just get things rolling. um, but she's been definitely heavily against him, just due to whatever childhood trauma she got from him.
Mm-hmm.
So this one interaction of like a 2-minute talk and then the backflip scene just doesn't seem like enough for that to come after like decades of animosity. So that's my reason of it being too soon. Right.
Everyone works differently, and I think the scenes with Chelsea and Ethel, of the little gazebo scene where she's crying in her arms, and then the slap for overstepping, I think that gives enough to Chelsea of like, this is still a thing being brought up, that when it is rekindled of them solving their friendship of father and daughter, it is now okay, and it's still testing the grounds because again, Dad was secondary as a name to be said. I think it's still okay.
I guess my final point will be when Billy Jr. tells Norman, "I'll miss you" on the boat. It's it's a strong line because Billy, in essence, to me, is matured a little bit. He's not just the
He's not the brat that they left,
brat. You know, he seems more matured, more leveled, more mellowed. And instead of the like, "Oh no, don't say that. You'll be here next year, and I'll see you," and he's like, "Yeah, this really could be the last time I see you," and he's just being sincere and honest and just talking to Norman. Meanwhile, Norman's just over there like, contemplating everything, not really knowing how to respond. Because the first question was like, "Do you fear death?" And it's like, "What type of question is that?" But
The
I think
fear of death.
that's good. Exactly. So I think that was just a really, really solid scene between the two of them. Right,
Yeah.
Sprinks, your final point.
Oh man, my final point.
Make it a big one.
I don't think I have that. I guess in a meta sense, what do you think the reason to remake this movie was? Because there's two other versions. What do you think caused that? What is it about this movie for going through it all, the three of us have done, for someone to pitch a redo?
I have an answer, but
What, you want me to go first?
no, I mean it's up to you if you want to go first. You're the host.
Sure. No, you can go. I've talked a lot in this one.
Okay. I think there's a profound sense of drama in reconciling the fact that you're old and you're going to die. There's not a lot of films out there that a lot of films out there tackle death, but not a lot of films out there cover the subject matter of deterioration and like growing old and dying in that way, like just of natural causes and stuff like that. You're not necessarily dealing with like, you know, Alzheimer's, or you're not necessarily dealing with cancer. You're dealing with something that's going to happen to everyone regardless of sex, age, etc. You're going to grow old and you're going to die. And not a lot of films can cover that in a give the setting for that to be tackled in a very mundane way. So I feel like that, in essence, is why might be why this film might have gotten more remakes, because people want to give their own spin on that, accepting the fact you're growing older and you're deteriorating and you're going to still try and live your life the best way you can, even though you're not as young as you used to be. I think there's a profound simplicity that I think other films could try to mimic or give their own spin on when they recreate this. And I know nothing about the other ones, by the way, so I'm just guessing.
Yeah, same boat. I don't know. I haven't seen the other ones.
Pretty similar to what Ryder was saying. To me, generally, there's two main reasons to do a remake or a reboot. One, money, and two, someone passionate about the original property wanting to work on it. Now, anecdotally, I know two people who really enjoy this film, uh, and they're the higher end of middle aged, 50s range. Um, and I would imagine whoever made the remakes possibly could have seen this younger and then like, okay, I want to pursue this. I have my own spin. That is me assuming. I have no idea. Uh, but I kind of see that for this being more of a passion project for the reboots and less of a monetary one. I don't think this is big enough to be a monetary reboot. Feels more emotional. Potentially. I have not seen the remakes. Maybe they are just sold as cash grabs. But this is a very passion-driven film, I feel. So that's kind of the avenue I think it went. Was this film touched somebody or multiple people, and that sprouted into them wanting their own take of it.
Okay. Both very good points.
And yourself?
Well, I think I agree with both of you in a sense. But yeah, just someone's different approach to the story, whether how swayed or not it is. But for seeing something like this that is very slice of life, very um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mundane,
Grounded.
but grounded in a sense, but just casual, I guess. Very casual movie. You know, just not home video feel, but just like everyday kind of sense. And taking an approach to that, I think, gives a lot of creative liberty of what could be changed, but with such high change because I feel like of the time of '81, this movie may have been stand of its own. Like not every other movie is very has a stronger event focus or a big action or um, littered genre of something else. This is very drama, but not drama in the sake of gasps and oohs and ahs, but drama in the sake of, oh, oh, I see. Oh, okay. A lot more tamer. And I think taking that approach is something on its own, maybe even genre defining for the film of the time to take an approach to it in different aspects and redos for the two other ones afterwards. Again, don't know that. Haven't seen the other two. It's kind of like in the vein of Secret Garden. Only seen the one we've covered, but I feel like it could be an approach to it.
I just realized I think I really want to see this as like a small in theater play.
That would be
Funny how you
interesting.
mentioned that. This is originally a play.
Okay. No, I think
I,
I'd be more interested in seeing the play personally, because
I'm like, I think it said that at the beginning,
yeah,
based on a
maybe
screenplay or something.
Yeah, I feel like I want to see this as a play in like an actual like theater because I this gave me like in the same sense of the same feeling that I had while watching Long Day's Journey into Night at the Shakespeare Festival, where the Long Day's Journey tonight became a literal long play into the night where the play started at 9 p.m. and it went all the way to like 2 a.m. in the morning. Um, and I feel like this would also fit very well into just that genre. So I'm not surprised it's a screenplay, but I just because that also explains the dialogue to a degree as well, the how much of a focus there is on it in the film. I think this would be a very interesting movie to see as a play.
I think it could totally do that.
Now, I don't know how many theaters are doing performances nowadays for this.
For
Maybe
this
you
one,
could
I don't
find
know.
one. All right, well, I guess that wraps it up. Unless anything else you guys are itching to say before ratings.
Are they really on the Golden Pond or are they near the Golden Pond? I don't know.
They're in the Golden Pond at moments.
At parts they're in, but it's not golden at that point. It's just a pond. It's more of a lake. No, I'm good.
Yeah. Mhm. All right. Then we'll do our summaries and ratings. Starting with. Do I start with myself? No, we'll start with Sparks.
No, he doesn't like that. All right, let's start with me. I'll start with my objective. I think this movie is well done. I think it's cinematography is fine. Nothing like best shot ever, not terrible. I think its acting is really good. I think its writing is very strong for its characters. I think its costuming is fine. I think its makeup is fine. I think its sets are fine. Um, what do I leave out? The lighting, very lots of natural lighting. I think that's very good. Gives it really a homey feel. Um, uh, editing. There's something big I'm forgetting. Editing, I think, is okay. Um, pacing with that is fine too. It does feel it's for the film's sake of what it is and the story it's telling that there are things that happen off camera, but there's enough inference of what the film's giving that you know where it's swayed. If it was between like a situation, it's like how did that resolve? There's enough in the following scene or scenes to give answer to, which is fine. My biggest thing is the questioning Chelsea's backstory, if it's really good, because we don't know Norman's take on Chelsea's upbringing, and that being a big character thing for Chelsea and her reason to be there, and that leads into Billy Jr. and Norman, all that, which I feel is very big in the plot, is not a plot hole, but just it's also not overshadowed. It's just an aspect of the story that isn't explained, which doesn't make it feel like a equal footing between Norman and Chelsea. It does feel like Chelsea's problem to solve, kind of thing, which is fine in an aspect of it, but it just I don't know. It doesn't exactly rub me the wrong way, but I see their approach of how they did it with how the film is made. Um, overall,
But how was the
nothing.
CGI?
Ooh, the CGI. You know, a great question. The swoons look great, or the loons, awesome. I think they were real. No, there's no CGI in this movie. Overall, objectively, I give it a 7.5. I think it's very well done for what it was achieving. I do think it achieved what it was going for too, uh, but it's not like a blows me out of the water. Like, oh my god, the way this movie's been filmed and made. I didn't get that, but it's still very good.
Blows you out of the pond?
Blows me out of the pond. No, it didn't do that. Subjectively, I think the detriment to my subjective score is the sake of my age and life experience. I think I'm not old enough to fully understand this movie, which isn't a discredit to the movie. It's just for my age currently, I don't think I have the connection or the relatability to the characters and situations at hand for me to get more emotionally invested or immersed into the story they're telling. But I can still recognize it's a very good story and very good family dynamic and drama piece for what it's getting for this slice of life story. So subjectively, I have it at a 6, but I feel like if I gave this 30, 40 years and came back to watching it, it probably could be a higher score.
All right. I think I'll go next. I'll start with my subjective. I enjoyed this film. I liked the humor. I liked the human connections between everybody. It's not the most engaging plot in the world. There's no goal. There's no villain. There's no race against something. By the end of the movie, there was the only expectation the end would be is Norman probably dying. That's the only expectation going into the film, and that didn't even happen. It is a slice of life film, but I still found myself engaged. I didn't find anything boring. Nothing felt like a slog, and due to that, I have it as 7.5. Uh, I definitely would watch it again. Um, I'm thinking about showing it to somebody already, just to get their views on it. Objectively, this one's a toughie. I have been bounced between two numbers, and they're pretty high. It's either going to be a 9 or an 8.5. Through our coverage, there has not been a lot of negatives thrown its way. And as we've talked about in recaps and stuff, how my scale works, every movie starts at a 10, and then it works its way down. There's not a lot of negatives. I think Chelsea's probably the weakest part of the film. I think her turn to say dad's too quick. I think not establishing the last time they met, her and Norman, is kind of a detriment. It would be nice if they haven't seen each other in like 10 years or something akin to that. It's open ended. They could have seen each other last year, 10 years, or when she left high school. We really don't have a range here. It's probably not the high school thing. I think the camera works are on par, fine. Nothing was bad to me there. The editing was not bad. The music was good. It played with the scenes, and yeah, semi-generic. I mean, it's piano. There's not much other instrumentals involved with it. All the characters, nobody was really consistent. They were very, very consistent throughout this. Billy Senior, Billy Junior, Chelsea, Norman, El- uh, Elma. I already forgot her name was.
Ethel.
Ethel.
Elma.
Jeez.
I wrote her name like twice in my notes. All right, they rarely say her name. All very consistent. All their motivations make sense, or can be extrapolated. Um, like the secret fishing spot Ethel found. I mean, they've had how many years together? She could have watched once and known about it, or there's so many options. Even what are the odds at night they found them crashed? Well, it was literally the last place they checked. uh, so I think they did a good job making this as clean as possible. Yeah. Mm, I'm going to give it
That move your needle.
a tepid 9. I might change it to an 8.5 in recap, but I think I'll give it a 9. All right, writer.
All right. I will do my. I'll do my sub first. Um. So I like this movie. I think the strength of it is obviously in the character dynamics. I also didn't hate any of the characters. The story is very simple. I like a lot of the themes that it's playing with. I might not share the obviously the age experience, but I've been around people and got to see them degrade. I found myself thinking about my grandfather and what his last years were like, and from my perspective, and because I wasn't next to him. I saw him in flashes, like in a way that I think Chelsea did. So I definitely found myself thinking about that, which I think speaks to the film in I guess a profound sense of the way. I was never really bored. I love the character dynamics. I think it's again, the themes are quite fascinating to tackle in terms of a story. I think I'm at a I've been bouncing between. I'm also gonna match Crimson 7.5. For the time being. Um, Objectively, I agree with pretty much everything Crimson said. The world building is quite simple. Obviously, it takes place in our world. It's very mundane. It's set to the time period, which I think is better for the film. Like no one's walking around with cell phones, etc., etc. Um, I would say the plot, there's not really a goal necessarily, other than just like Billy's, kind of warming up to Norman and Ethel, and I would say Ethel is an I would say Chelsea reconnecting with her father is also kind of a cornerstone to the plot. A lot of the plot in this film was all related to character motivations, so it keeps things very simple. They don't nothing gets overcomplicated. Like Norman doesn't necessarily have a goal. Um, and as for the characters, I think the weakest moment to stand out to me is objectively speaking, I think is Chelsea calling him dad. It feels appropriate for the tone of the film, but I don't think it's necessarily earned with what we have. Crimson gave a bunch of reasonings that could help build into why like that could have been stronger. I think there's plot armor in the movie for Norman, especially with his impact into the water. I would think that um, also there's general plot armor. They found them. We don't know how long they were there. They could have alternated arms, but Norman's also really old, so I do think that falls under a bit of plot armor and nitpicky and stuff like that. Um, I think establishing Chelsea's time frame would also, again, this is what Crimson said, would be better to inform her choice of calling him dad at the end, or and help kind of make the payoff to their relationship a little bit more conclusive. I think both Billies are great additions to the film for different reasons. I think Billy Senior does challenge Norman in a specific way that I think helps make the film stronger. Because he's not completely deteriorated. He understands, and Billy Senior gets that respect. Billy Senior is also the source of some good comedy. Um, I think Billy Junior has a good positive effect on Norman, as the Crimson said, they rub off on each other. I think Ethel is kind of the optimistic heart of the film. So even through like, I think the film is more darker moments. I think Ethel is the moral center that the audience is kind of meant to follow along with. And I think that's very much the thing with the film. There's no real inconsistencies, I think. I do think that the few nicks I mentioned are what are here, or have already been mentioned. Overall, as well, purely from the writing, I think I'm also at an objective 9. Um, I'm not sure what could drag my scale down to an 8.5, but it is possible. But I'm at a solid 9 for now.
Alrighty. Well, anything else before Ryder takes us out?
Yes, I do have something that you said, Crimson.
All right.
So, is every movie you haven't seen a 10 out of 10 movie until you've seen it?
I mean, that doesn't have a rating because I haven't seen it. Every movie starts at a 10, though.
So,
Like once the first second pops up on screen, the scale starts.
okay. So every time you go to a theater and you see a movie, as soon as the movie starts, it's a 10 out of 10 movie?
Yeah. Until it gives me a reason
That's
not to think it's a
Huh.
perfect movie.
Huh. Interesting.
We talked about this on the, I think it was the short season recap with
Yeah,
Bonus
but that
Camera.
was years ago. I'm just reiterating.
Yeah,
And
that's fine.
maybe some people didn't watch those, didn't listen to them, and that's okay. So I'm
I
just
mean, yeah,
restating.
it's
I'm like, I
yours. Don't
find that
expect
interesting.
everyone to remember everything.
Yeah. You
Yeah, because
start
we
every
established
new movie as a perfect movie, and that's
every movie's
huh.
perfect until it gives me reason not to think so. Much like your scale, like every movie's in the middle and average and has to work up to greatness to work towards a 10.
Yeah.
That's,
Or still with you, works its way down, making itself
yeah.
worse.
Mhm.
I'm very middle road. I don't know anything of the movie.
Yeah.
I have a
And
And
recap
writer
this
question.
film
works
didn't get
I
a
have
lot
a
to
of
the bottom.
I
He goes, every movie sucks until I see it.
I have a recap question for you now, Crimson. So I hope I remember it.
You guys write it down.
Ooh.
Don't want to
I
lose
will,
it.
that gentlemen. Is there anything else, or shall I read us out?
I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Alrighty. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Heart. I already screwed that up. I'm going to start over. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, and Samsung. And if you have to be on our visual side of things, be it YouTube, Rumble, or frickin' Spotify, thank you for watching our PNG slideshow there. As always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer,
I'm Crimson Maroon.
Then Springs.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.